Alright guys, welcome back. We are playing Higurashi, When They Cry. Chapter 5, Meakashi. Last time, things have really flown off the handle now, huh? Is that a thing that people say? I don't know. You know what I mean? Things are crazy. I understand how we got here. I understand Shion completely. It's just really, man, we're going quick, huh? It's really, man, I guess I was thinking about how great that last subchapter was in terms of like the way things just kept escalating. Not even escalating, just how it was so sudden, I guess. How it was just suddenly we were oh god, where's my water? There it is. Ugh. How we were suddenly in the middle of Shion doing all of this crazy shit just instantly, right? How we went from her timidly being terrified of Mion and Oryu in the hallway to suddenly she had killed Oryu and was torturing her dead body and thrown Mion in a cell and was planning to kill like all this crazy shit, right? Um, it's so good how quickly it just throws us from that to that, as if it just naturally connects, as if it's just the next logical thing that Shion would do. And in a way, I guess it is, like in a sense, right? Um, I feel like the like explosive nature of her actions makes sense with the way that this really is like almost an explosion of all of these emotions and feelings this that she's repressed for so long, you know what I mean, like the her place in the Sonozaki family and all of this, it's finally like overflowed, I guess, but it's not even overflowing, right? It's like she turned the glass over, and it's just suddenly all of this is happening, right? um I think it makes sense. I think it makes a lot of sense. I want to try and like analogize it to like other things, but it's probably hard. I think a lot of like horrible abusive relationship situations like that are like this, right? Where someone eventually reaches a point where they can't accept it anymore, they can't take it anymore, and then it's just like their behavior about it radically changes, as we saw here from Shion, like accepting everything in a way, accepting her place in a sense to everything that happened in the last subchapter, right? Um, it's very good. It's very good. It feels like still, at least within her head, from like what we've seen, right? I guess there's something to be said for whether or not we truly see all of a character's thoughts when we're like, in the lens of their narration or not. But I think what I am curious about, because she didn't really think about it in the last chapter that much, is like, I don't know, just her general own thoughts about like what she's doing, Because she had so much like cope self-justification that she essentially had to come up with in order to like be alive and, cope with her situation, that she used to like to say like, oh, she wasn't actually jealous of Mion, and she, accepting her place in the Sonozakis, all of this, she had so much of that, so many little lines in like the first half of this chapter, that were like these justifications she uses for herself, to explain her own situation and, to keep living the way she's been living her whole life, right? So I guess I just really want to know how she thinks about her own actions now, and like how she, maybe it just goes without saying, right? Maybe it's just obvious. It just feels like she obviously the lens through which she's doing this is essentially like self-defense from her point of view. She thinks that these people are responsible in some way for Satoshi's death and that they're going to kill her next because she went to the storehouse, right? So I understand. I just really wonder. I really wonder if there's a next step for her mentally where I don't know. I'm just so curious where she's gonna go. Let's get into it. Let's continue. I want to play so bad. She's going to school. She's going to school as Mion, right? Ooh. I was having such a happy dream. Sachikin was in the dream. He was leading his normal everyday life. Oh god. Also, I want to talk even more about the stupid thing following her. It's actually pissing me off so much. I've been thinking about it so much. The thing behind them. Like what the hell is it? I don't know. I don't know. We'll talk about it at like the end, maybe. I don't even know. I'm just gonna be rambling. Did I read that? He was leading his normal everyday life. He was back on the baseball team. Yuri and I acted normally around him because we knew that's how mature people should act. Ooh. We welcomed him back as if he had been here with us the whole time. Although he hits well in practice sessions, he still doesn't do well in a real game. Come on, Sachi-kun. There's 3 strikes already? I'm cheering for you. Then Sachi-kun pouted as he mumbled. I felt tears pouring down my face. Oh. Sniffle, sniffle.
Satoshi-kun. Satoshi-kun.
If only. The happy dream faded out with my sobs. The harder I tried to focus on it, the faster it faded. Soon it was all gone. I could see the bright morning sun through a crack in the curtains. It's very interesting how it feels like it always goes back to Satoshi in a way, right? But Satoshi for her, I suppose, was really just a... It's not like what happened with Satoshi was unique, in the sense that the life she was living didn't really change with the introduction of Satoshi into her life, right? Like, her losing him meant a lot. I guess, like, my point is, the situation she was in with the Sonozakis was equally as bad pre and post Satoshi, right? I guess Satoshi was just kind of this realization for her, I suppose, right? Like the loss of Satoshi, I guess, you know? But obviously the Sonozakis would have always done that. It's not like her own situation was ever actually any different, you know? I guess I don't really know where I'm going with that. I think it's interesting, because I wonder how much... Because what happened to Satoshi is so much, I feel like, of her justification of what she's doing right now in a way. Obviously, I think her justification for everything she's doing, it's just flawed, right? Like, she's just wrong, right? There's no way for her to know she's wrong. I understand why she doesn't think she's wrong, of course. I don't know. I was at Mion's room in the Sonozaki house. When did I come back? I was crouching in the corner of the room and crying. Awesome. Great. A dream is a dream. I wish I hadn't woken up. But one must wake up from a dream. Yeah, we live in a world where there are no dreams, and that's why we always wake up. But I wasn't sure if I was the only one dreaming that dream, because I felt like Sachi-kun was right beside me.
Satoshi-kun? 帰ってきてくれたんだ.
If only, right? There was no reply. That was the rule. If it was Sachi-kun, I wish he'd smile at me just once. But Sachi-kun's presence faded away, as if he were never there to begin with. What is it? I heard the phone ring by the front door. Ah, that's right. I was the only one in the house now. I had to answer it. I got up to walk to the front door. I felt unsteady, so I put my hand on the wall to support myself. I hardly got any sleep. It was like I had a bad cold. The phone continued to ring. I probably didn't have to answer it, actually. But I was still half asleep, and all I could think of was answering the phone. Interesting.
Hi, Sonozaki desu.
Kimiyoshi. Interesting. I do have some questions about Kimiyoshi. Like, you remember back, I mean, this hurts my head to think about, because I don't understand how we're going to get there. But, like, when Shion was on the phone, in Chapter 2, when Shion is talking to Keiichi on the phone, like, the first phone call, I think, or the second one? One of them. I don't remember the phone call timeline anymore. It's been months. And Keiichi tells her about Kimiyoshi's death, his disappearance, right? And Shion freaks out, right? Obviously, from my perspective at this point, I'm assuming, of course, that Shion is the one who's going to kill Kimiyoshi, right? Certainly seems like that's what happened in Chapter 2. But during that phone call, she says all this stuff about how Kimiyoshi's always so nice to her, was like a second father to her, blah, 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 all this stuff. She didn't say any of that in the last subchapter, right? When she was thinking about how it could be Kimiyoshi, who's the the person who handles the curse every year and all of this, the secret guy who does the underside dealings of the Sonozakis. She didn't say any of that stuff. So did she make all of that up when she sent that to Keiichi? Is that true? And she just didn't say or think anything about it in the last subchapter last night when she was thinking about that stuff? How are we even going to get there? Like, what is going to happen to her is that even, like, tomorrow night, I think, in universe right now? She's going to be talking to Keiichi on the phone, pretending to not know that Kimiyoshi's dead, and then acting all emotionally upset about his death, when I'm quite sure she's going to be the one who kills him, right? So, I don't know. I don't know how we're going to get there.
おばあちゃんまだお休みですかな？
It was Uncle Kimiyoshi.
はい。
Interesting. What is interesting, of course, because he's asking for their grandmother, is this could reinforce what Mion was saying about her not knowing anything, right? Because if, from Shion's point of view, if she thinks that Kimiyoshi is the one who is, like, taking care of the curse killings and all this stuff, right? If he refuses to talk to Mion/Shion about any of that stuff, thinking it's Mion, obviously, then that kind of backs up what Mion said about her not knowing anything, right? Obviously, that doesn't. I don't think he actually has anything to do with any of that, but in Shion's head, you know.
昨日のが答えたみたいです。しばらく寝かせておこうと思います。
そうだね。無理に起こしちゃ悪いな。ミオンちゃんもこれから学校だよね。
Of course.
枕元に伝言を置いといてもらってもいいかな。
What will it be? Something that somehow convinces her further of him being the
わかり
one?
ました。なんと伝言しましょう。
ね、昨日の件で緊急に役員会を開くことになったんだけど、
Okay.
それをね、
About
今日の夕方の5時から
about
神社
Takano
の集会所で
Tomatake,
伝え
right?
てもらえる？
I don't know what else it would be.
わかりました。伝えておきます。
As soon as I put the phone down, it rang again.
はい、園崎です。
早朝から申し訳ありません。
God, Kasai.
笠井と申しますが、ミオンさんですか？
She's gonna lie, of
お
course,
はようござい
right?
ます。
I wonder if Kasai can tell them apart. You know, like would he be able to know?
笠井さんですか？
Yeah, she's kind of
おはよう
stumbling.
ございます。
シオンさんはまだそちらにいらっしゃいますか？
I wonder if Kasai's gonna be the one who reports Shion as missing, because Oishi, right? The police end up knowing that Shion's missing, right? I wasn't panicked, but I hesitated. I could tell him no, or I could play both Mion and Shion.
シオンはさっき顔を洗ってました。
Interesting. Okay, I wonder why. Why does she do that? Okay. Huh.
呼んできますね。
I decided to play two parts. I went back and forth down the hallway and picked up the phone again. I guess this is why. Okay. Wait, I'm thinking. Wait, give me a sec. This is why when Oishi tells Keiichi in Chapter 2 that Shion's missing, he said that she was missing ever since the day that she meets him at the library, right? This must be why. I bet Kasai's gonna report her as missing, but because she's pretending to be Shion and Mion here, he's gonna think she isn't missing yet on this day, right? Okay.
笠井、おはようです。
おはようございます、シオンさん。今日は登校されますか？
するわけないです。
Absolutely not. No
軽い
chance.
し。
まあそんなとこだとは。それでシオンさん、沖宮へ帰る足はありますか？若いのに迎えに行かせますが。
君吉のおじいちゃんとかそのあたりに送ってもらおうかなと思ってます。私のことは放っておいてくれて OK です。
Okay,
さんから出席日数だけは守らせるように厳命。私の小指のためにもご協力をいただきたいもんです。
まあ気が向いたら努力します。それより笠井、聞いてる？
聞いてるとは。
Hear about what?
昨日のあれ。
Yeah, the incident.
一応は恐ろしい話です。
これ
Very.
までのたたりの犠牲者はさ、みんなダム戦争の時の戦犯だったわけじゃない？それが今年はちょいと路線が違う感じですよね。どう思う？
さあ、私の預かり知るところの話ではありません。
Because Kasai was another person that she thinks could know something about it, of course. Kasai wasn't the type to talk too much. If it was about something complicated, he usually responded like that.
夕べの犠牲者の2人がどうしてお社様のたたりを受けたか。
いいえ。
実は夕べなんか綿流しの最中に最後殿にこっそり忍び込んだらしいよ。
This is just how it gets around, huh?
鍵を針金か何かで開けて。
God, no one would have known. No one ever would have known. Kasai went silent for a while. I held my breath while waiting to see how he responded. I expected him to say that he couldn't believe those people were chosen as victims just for sneaking into a storehouse. I expected him to say that it was just too unrealistic.
そうですか。バカなことを。
Interesting. Because he doesn't know either, right?
まあ富武さんもそのあたりには疎いよそ者だったってことだね。
Oh, he did, of course. I went along with Kasai, but I felt disturbed on the inside. Kasai didn't wonder why breaking into the ritual storehouse would justify their deaths. I'd known Kasai for a long time, which is why I knew there was a heavy meaning to what he
で
said.
さ葛西実
Well,
は
I
さ
suppose, I guess. I feel like... Okay. I mean, like, I guess that kind of makes sense. I was just gonna say, like, I feel like she didn't really say that, oh, that must be why they died, right? All she said was, did you hear they fell under the curse? I heard they did this. She didn't say, like, oh, they must have been killed because of this, but maybe that is a pointless distinction. I don't know. I don't know why that would matter, I guess.
私もなんだけど
Oh, God.
入ったんですか？
うん
She sounds so nervous.
西宮殿にシオンさんが？
うんその高野さんに一緒にどうって
My
誘われてさ
I'm surprised she tells him.
高野さんと富武さんそして私とほら前原屋敷に引っ越してきた圭一って男の子と一
And
緒に
tells him about
四人で
Keiichi. Wow, okay. I heard Kasai sighing heavily. Even though he didn't say a word, I could tell he was shocked. I'd never known him to act this way before.
シオンさん、去年ああいう一件があったばっかりなんですよ。今度はどうけじめをつけられるおつもりですか？
How do you think you can take care of
う
this?
ーん去年が爪3枚だったから
Oh, God.
奮発して5枚くらいいっとくあごめんでもふざけてるわけじゃないんだよ
Does she really just trust him that much? Or... I mean, I don't... In a way, maybe,
そり
but...
ゃ私だってやばいとこだって認識はあったよ少しはでもさそこまでやばいことなわけ
Because, I mean, it is obvious that Kasai is kind of the only adult figure in her entire life that it feels like she trusts in any way, right? But... I don't know. At the same time, like, not really, it feels like... I mean, it really feels like there's kind of two parts to her thinking, you know?
シオンさんは仮にも園崎本家に縁ある方です。今さらそんなこと言ってまかり通ると思いますか？
っていうかだって私ずっと沖宮ばあさんに嫌われて以降ひなみ沢にはほとんど近づいてもいないその上
Her?
学園に閉じ込められて過ごしてたんですよそんなの私が知るはずないじゃない
I heard another sigh from Kasai. That sigh told me my excuses would be
シオン
useless.
さん、私はあなたの味方のつもりです。
Right,
極
right.
力シオンさんを信じてあげたいと思っています。
God, what happens to Kasai? Did we ever learn if anything happens to Kasai in Chapter 2? I don't really remember. I don't remember if he's literally ever mentioned again in Chapter 2, from like that tip where we see him with Shion and Keiichi.
ですが、いくら私でもかばいきれないことがあります。第一、
Oh.
ごめんお姉が来たから切りますじゃね
Interesting. How is she gonna take that? Man, is this where her paranoia is gonna come from? Click. I interrupted Kasai and hung up. I didn't want to hear it. I don't want to hear Kasai reject me. He, who had been an ally all my life. Interesting. Reject her. Oh, God, her laugh. Oh, God, her laugh.
チェ参ったなあ
I could hear the sound of the cicadas. The sound made it feel like I was being cooked on a huge frying pan, making a sizzling noise. I couldn't help feeling remorseful. Now I knew that sneaking into the ritual storehouse wasn't a laughing matter, but I really didn't know it at the time. Sure, the door was locked, so they didn't want anyone to go in. Then why did they change the lock? What did they say? I think that it was Rika-chama. I think it was that Rika-chama said that the previous lock was too heavy for her, so she had it changed to that cheap one. That was how Takano-san broke in. If the heavy lock was still there, this wouldn't have happened. I slapped my own forehead. Then I took a deep breath. I had to calm down. What was the point of fussing now? I'd already passed the point of no return. There was no use thinking otherwise. The hag was already dead. Even if she wasn't, she was now at the bottom of the well. Yeah. Therefore, it was already past the point where I could just cut my fingers off in apology. I felt so unstable. No kidding, no kidding. I'd walked on the fence around the swings at the park before, as if I was walking on a tightrope. It was fun, because even if I fell, it was only a very short distance, and now it is like, you fall into the abyss, like, man. But it wouldn't have been fun if I were up really high. At the very moment, I was in fact already on a tightrope that was a lot higher than the fence at that park. As soon as I took a step, the rope behind me would vanish. I mean, she is just in the most horrible, stressful... I mean, just imagine being in her situation, right? Like, it's probably pretty hard. Like, imagine, just like... Imagine it, right? If you had just done the thing she did last night, you wake up, and it wasn't like a dream or anything, it was real. And now she just, like, oh god. I mean, it's gonna fall apart pretty quick, right? Like, it would just be so stressful and impossible, like... I couldn't step back, because there was nothing behind me. You never can. That was, in short, the current situation I found myself in. Just standing in one spot was all I could do. Even if I never took another step, I'd fall if I wasn't careful. If I forced myself to walk, the danger would only increase. But if I didn't move, I would fall eventually. I couldn't see what was ahead of me. There was no guarantee that I'd ever find firm ground. But if I stopped, there was only one fate waiting for me. I have to move onward. If staying here guaranteed death, then I'd rather try to walk, even if I die as a result. Even if there was a dead end ahead of me, at least I tried my hardest. In general, I tried to be optimistic. I could accept my life not lasting particularly long. Optimism. Would I describe her attitude as optimism? I guess. Like, I guess you could say it's optimism. It's like, kinda. I don't know. I feel like her general attitude towards, like, her life, just from, like, what we've seen, like, her attitude towards, like, the treatment from her family and stuff, you know? I don't think I would describe it as optimism. I think it's more so like she tries to just ignore the, like, I guess, the truth of it, right? The real negative part of her situation. Almost, like, delude herself, I suppose, you know? Like, delusional optimism, I guess, right? I mean... I just still don't know if I would call it optimism, right? Like, her attitude. I could accept my life not lasting particularly long, but I wouldn't go easily. I'd struggle as much as possible. I'd already killed the hag. For that, there could be no punishment other than death. Yeah, I knew my life would end soon. In other words, I was actually already dead. God, she thinks it's that insurmountable, which makes sense for the most part, right? I think it would be basically impossible for her to get away with this for any amount of time, you know, but I think it is interesting how she thinks it's so insurmountable, so impossible. Like, just the punishment that the Sonozakis basically will dole out on her for having killed Oryu, you know? I think it makes sense with the way she's always thought about it, you know? Because it's not like she's still... I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's not like there's anything she can do to, like, do anything about the reality of the Sonozakis and, like, the whole structure of the family and everything, you know? I clenched my fists tightly as I muttered. Even if I had to die, I couldn't die easily. This was my chance to avenge Sachikin. Right. Vengeance. Perfect. Who did it? For what purpose? And why? I was going to investigate. I was going to question. I wonder if she will get that answer, huh? I was going to expose. Yes, I was going to settle the score. I'm trying to think, was Satoshi ever mentioned, like, at all in Chapter 2 when we were in Keiichi's perspective? I'm really trying to think, when was he ever mentioned? I feel like he definitely was. God, it's been so long. He definitely, I mean, obviously, he wasn't nearly as big of a part of all of this as he is in this, right? God, I'm looking through my notes. I have Kasai is Shion's minion written down back in my Chapter 2 notes. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I didn't write anything down about Satoshi during Chapter 2. I don't know. I'm trying to remember if like, Shion ever said anything about him to Keiichi in Chapter 2. I'd carry out the plan I came up with yesterday. I could hide the hag's death somehow. All I'd have to say is that she hadn't been feeling well since Watanagashi. I could do it all while pretending to be Mion. Just in case her friends at school became suspicious, maybe I'd start telling them I hadn't been feeling well either. In fact, I did feel groggy from my lack of sleep. When I became Mion, Shion would automatically disappear. I'd already told Kasai that I snuck into the shrine storage, so he'd probably end up telling people that I was demoned away due to the curse of Eishido-sama. But let me read that again. When I became Mion, Shion would automatically disappear. That is just such a... That is a line. The last person I'd have to think about was the fourth one, who snuck into the ritual storehouse, Keiichi Maibara. Okay. Maybe I can use him as bait to lure out the enemy. Sorry, Kei-chan, you're going to be my bait. Oh, I felt a little bad since I was starting to like him. With all that figured out, let's go to school. I'd gone to school as Mion before, so I knew how things worked. It was almost time to leave the house. Oh, we're gonna see Shion see Satsuko again, huh? And yeah, I remember this. I remember this so well from like Keiichi's perspective. Yeah. No, why I remember it so well is I remember in this moment, the music that I associated so much with Shion rather than with Mion played during this moment. You know, like the Shion music, right? I always think of it as the Shion music, because I think it played... The thing is, it played so often for Mion too, because it was actually Mion pretending to be Shion, right? But in my head, I always associated it as the Shion music, and it played in this moment, which I thought was always weird. Because I was like, oh, isn't this Mion, not Shion? But it actually is Shion.
先に行っちゃってもよかったのに。
あれ、ミオン。
What is up, Keiichi?
お前、顔が赤くないか？息も妙に荒いし。
みーちゃん、ひょっとして具合悪くない？
God, she's kind of nervous around Rena, isn't she? Rena put her hand on my forehead with like the way she was thinking about her, you know?
冷たいな。みーちゃん、ちょっとだけど熱あるよ。そんな大したことないよ。半日もすればケロッと治っちゃうって。
本当に大丈夫かよ。あんまり無理するなよ。
あれ、ケイちゃん、気遣ってくれるの？
Of course.
嬉しいな。
Come on. I'd always thought he was a goofball, so I was a little surprised. I thought that they would tease me, but they didn't.
無理しない方がいいと思うな。先生にはお休みだって伝えとくよ。大丈夫大丈夫。風邪薬も飲んだし、すぐに効いてくると思うから。
じゃあ行こうか。くれぐれも無
Yeah,
理す
they
るな
gotta
よ。
run, right? They're late.
時間。
Yeah.
走らないと、間に合わない。スリリングな朝になっちゃったね。鈍った体にはちょうどいいカツかもね。走ろ。
Again, it's something about Shion. It's something about Shion that I feel like must be... It feels meaningful to me. I just don't really know what to say about it. I wonder how Shion feels about the fact that she is so easily interchangeable with Mion, right? That she's so easily able to pretend to be Mion, and no one can tell. No one thinks otherwise, right? I wonder, like, how that makes her feel about, like, her own identity and who she is as a person, you know? Because it's like, by the Sonozakis, through their treatment, they've always treated her, I mean, like what she was just thinking earlier, right? About already being a dead person, right? That she should have already been dead since, like, birth, basically, you know? That her very existence is like a fluke, and it should only be Mion that exists, you know? It just feels like the fact that she can be so easily, like, overshadowed by Mion in that way, by pretending to be her, and everyone just sees her as Mion, you know? That she can so easily do that. I just wonder how she feels about that. I feel like it would feel so... I guess from my perspective, I feel like it would be so... Not, like, dehumanizing, I guess, but, like, it would hurt my idea of, like, my own individuality, maybe, you know? I don't know. 起立！気をつけ！ I'd made the same mistake before. I never learned, do I?
みーちゃん、本当に大丈夫かな？今日は具合悪そう。あら、そうなんですの。
Oh, what's up, Sadako?
それはよくありませんわね。
It was a good idea to make them believe I was sick. Even if I did things differently from Mion, I had an excuse.
まあ、
God, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the timeline of Chapter 2 well enough. She goes to school again as Mion, right? I'm pretty sure, right? Because, like, what starts happening? They start in Chapter 2 after people really start dying. After, like, Sadako and Rika disappear, I think, that they go to school again. The next day? I don't even remember. It's been so long.
女の子には体調が悪くなる日もあるってことだな。
僕にはそんな日はないのですよ。
Thank you, Rika. Thank you.
みぱー。
Mion's friends kept each other occupied and left me alone. Keiichi Maibara. God, he might suddenly disappear one day. I couldn't let that happen. That would be like letting a fish take the bait and swim away while I was fast asleep with a fishing pole in my hands. God, Keiichi can't catch a fucking break, huh? Like in Meakashi, Oishi was being crazy with him. Now Shion is using him as bait. Like, God, come on. I couldn't miss the moment the enemy took a bite out of Keiichi. I had to be very careful. But it was impossible to keep my eyes on him 24 hours a day. Spying on him at school like this wasn't good enough. I should have him meet with Shion and let him... Should I have him meet with Shion and let her explain that he's in danger? God, even this line, talking about herself like in third person like this? Maybe we could set up a strategy together. I didn't think Keiichi realized how serious a crime it was to step into the ritual storehouse. I hadn't, after all. Since last year, all the incidents that related to the curse had probably been investigated in secret. People involved with the 3 families would know about the incident from last night. But Keiichi shouldn't know anything. If he knew where he stood now, he'd be more cautious too. That should make him aware of his surroundings, and maybe he would notice if anything odd took place. I'm trying to remember, how does he learn that Takano and Tomitake die? Does he just learn that from Shion on the phone? I think so, this night, right? I believe so. Or does he learn it from Oishi at the library? Not sure. Don't remember. I'm sure we'll see. The teacher caught him sleeping, so she ordered him to go wash his face. He walked out into the hallway. I was sleepy too. I had to be alert, but I couldn't clear my mind due to my lack of sleep. I decided to go home early. Since I'd been pretending to be sick since morning, my request was approved. Right, and she has this little conversation with him. As I exited the building, I saw Keiichi washing his face.
やっぱケイちゃんはこっちの流しを選んだか。表の方が気分いいもんね。
あ、ミヨンか。
God. I remember this so well in chapter 2 from Keiichi's perspective. It's crazy.
授業サボるなよな。
It looked like it felt refreshing for him to wash his face with cold water. I washed my face too. But it didn't feel as good as it looked.
ミヨン、
Interesting.
風邪の方はいいのかよ。眠いのは寝不足じゃなくて、風邪薬の副作用なんだろ。
あはは、実は内緒なんだけど、昨日はお祭りの後で親族の宴会に巻き込まれちゃってさ。それでエンドレス。
Gulp. I pretended to drink with an invisible glass.
徹夜明けかよ。心配して損した。
I love seeing the Keiichi faces, man. Keiichi exaggerated his reaction, but he still seemed worried. He is the most exaggerated person ever, so you better get used to that, Shion.
帰りは気をつけろよ。ふらふらしてそこや用水路に落ちるなよ。
Keiichi turned around to go back to the classroom.
そうそう、ケイちゃん。
I stopped Keiichi. He, in response, turned around.
なんだ。
変なことを聞くけど、
Oh,
深く考え
right.
ないで
What did she
答え
ask
て
him
ね。
again? She asked him if he saw Takano and Tomitake, and then she asks him if he saw, like, Shion, right? I don't remember what the questions are, right? It's the same questions that then, Keiichi starts having this crazy mental breakdown when Oishi, like, asks him the same questions, all that stuff, right?
それは内容によりけりだな。
昨日の綿流しの晩さ、富武さんと高野さんに会わなかった？
Right. I noticed Keishi's body tense up. His reaction proved that he felt guilty about sneaking into the ritual storehouse. He was frightened that Mion Sonozaki might know about it. I guess this was enough to give him a certain impression of Mion Sonozaki.
富武さんと高野さんはわかるよね。ほら、ケイちゃん、お祭りの前日準備の時、シオンと一緒に4人でお話ししてたでしょ？
Oh, right. Yeah, we didn't... I remember that. I could clearly see how dismayed Keiichi felt. I remember I forgot that happened in Chapter 2, when he went to set up the festival. Yeah. And that's where he learned about the murders in Chapter 2. Right. I could clearly see how dismayed Keiichi felt. He was trying to come up with an excuse, and he's terrible at it.
さあ、どうかな。あったような。
Perfect.
合わ
Amazing.
なかったような。
God. What is she gonna think about his amazing lying skills, huh? He was both a bad liar and a bad actor. He wasn't really that intelligent at all. Well, that would make him a suitable friend for Mion. Whoa! Come on! He was just a brat, unlike Sachi-kun. Although, when it came to lying and acting, Sachi-kun was at about the same level. True. Maybe Keiichi should be credited for at least trying to tell a lie. Sachi-kun wouldn't have even said a thing. I didn't need to be thinking about him right now.
そう。じゃあもう一つ質問ね。同じく夕べ、シオンに会わなかった？
Oh, and this, like, in Chapter 2, this is, like, when our eyes, like, went crazy, right? Yeah. This was a very mean question. Keiichi was perplexed, as I expected. Why did she ask it? Why is she even asking this, though, exactly, right? Like, I guess she's trying to suss out Keiichi and, like, what he knows and how he feels about what they did, right? She doesn't want Keiichi to die. You know, she wants to use him as bait. So yeah, I guess she's just trying to understand, like, his position and all of these things, you know? It's just, it contributes so much to him having a horrible time this chapter.
それ昨日も聞いたよな。
Ooh.
俺あったかどうかわからないって答えたと思ったぜ。
Right, right. God, that is still the thing. I wish we had seen Keiichi and Shion talk after they went into the Saiguden with Tanagashi, right? Because that's when Shion and Keiichi talk about the sound that she was hearing. Eh? I'd asked him that yesterday? He must have meant that Mion Sonozaki asked him that question. In other words, she asked him that after he left the storehouse and got back together with his friends. Damn you, Mion. When I asked her, she said she'd had no idea we went into the ritual storehouse. Shit.
そうだっけ。また改めて聞いたら違う答えが返ってくるかなって思ってさ。
Yeah, okay. Interesting. No, that's so interesting that this line felt so... God, this line was like so weird and creepy from Keiichi's perspective. But no, this is just Shion trying to come up with something to say because I doesn't know what to say because yeah, she already had asked it as Mion before, right? God, that's crazy. That's crazy.
どうしてあったかどうかをそんなに気にするんだよ。
He was getting defensive. Keiichi couldn't handle his panic as he flared up at me.
大したことじゃないの。富武さんと高野さんとシオン悪く言ってる人たちがいるの。
Right.
何が悪いんだかはよく聞いてないんだけどね。
God, and this, oh man, Keiichi was really perplexed now. This wasn't fun at all, but it could still be an interesting game.
私、ケイちゃんが悪いことをするなんて信じてないから。でも、ちょっとだけ聞いてみたかったから聞いてみたの。
Okay,
不
okay.
愉快な思いをさせてごめんね。
Huh. Made sure Keiichi felt a sense of crisis, then left. Yeah, no kidding. Like, God, you were very successful at that. He sure does feel a sense of crisis. Man. Oh, God. Nobody can tell us apart. We're Mion and Shion, perfect twins. Just what I was thinking about, huh? God, it's actually it's so interesting thinking about how where all this goes is, like, in Chapter 2, Keiichi just has this horrible... Like, he blames himself for everything. He thinks it's all his fault, right? All the horrible things Keiichi goes through in Chapter 2, like, mentally. And it all was, like, so not real at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was all just Shion being like this. You know what I mean? No one even knew they went into the Saiguden in the first place, right? Like, because obviously it was all insane and crazy in the first place for anyone to think that all these people were actually dying because Keiichi snuck into the Saiguden, right? Keiichi has such a tendency to do that, right? To blame himself, but it's like, it's so... God, it just feels so, like, tragic, I guess. It feels so tragic that his feelings like this were always... It was, like, manufactured. It was just so, like, man... When I returned to the Sonozaki house, I saw a woman with an apron on. Who? It was a housekeeper. Her name was Shimiko-san. Oh, we don't need you anymore. No, we're good. The hag had a few housekeepers who took care of the chores around the house.
ミオンちゃん本当によかっ
How's she gonna get these
た。
housekeepers out of here?
たんですよ。
ありゃ、シミコさん。何かご用
I
で
mean, maybe she could still have him be around. Maybe it would be fine. Today was her turn to come help out at the house. She'd arrived, but the gate was locked and she couldn't get in. She'd called, but there was no answer, and she had just been standing there, not knowing what to do.
バッチャですね。綿流しの祭りで面白くないことがあったみたいで、昨べからすごく機嫌が悪いんです。
Right.
ああ、そうですか。
I feel like I recognize her voice, but maybe not. Shimiko-san tried to remember if she had done something wrong.
別に無視してるんじゃなくて、寝込んでるだけなんです。昨べだいぶ遅くまでカリカリしてたから、多分まだ起きられないんじゃないでしょうか。知ってるでしょ、一度機嫌を損ねたバッチャがどれだけの期間機嫌が悪いかを。
そうですね。困りましたね。
Very, very.
しばらく顔を見せない方がいいと思います。 シミコさんに悪気がなくても、
Getting her
抹
out
茶
of
は
here.
何かと咎めてくるに違いありませんから、こういう時は私に任せといてください。
そうですか。
I'm gonna write down her name just in case.
それは助かりますけ
Okay.
シミコさん、申し訳ないんですけど、他のお手伝いさんにもしばらく来なくていいと伝え
Right,
ても
right.
らっ
Of
ていいです
course,
か。
of course.
バッチャの機嫌が治ったらこっそり電話しますから、しばらくそっとしてあげてください。
Shimiko-san bowed, then left on her bicycle. Anyone who had ever experienced Granny's wrath would understand. I headed into Mion's room, set her alarm clock for 2 p.m., and crawled into her bed. I needed to recover quickly. I guess I just, like, what are we gonna do about Mion, right? Like, is she just gonna be starving to death and dying of thirst down there? Like, what? Like, I'm terrified. I had to be sharp, calm, and cool-headed. School should be out by 2 p.m. Maybe I'd get in touch with Keiichi. I'd have to call him. There should also be a staff meeting at the Furude Shrine Assembly Hall in the evening. All the leaders of the 3 families, their relatives, and the town council members would gather at this meeting. And Kimiyoshi is supposed to die tonight too, right? Because it's this whole meeting thing when they're like trying to figure out like his line of travel the whole time, the whole day, you know. They were all authority figures in Hinamizawa. I'd be attending in place of the hag, who was sick. I'd worry about the rest when I got there. People shouldn't notice that Mion and the hag were missing for a long time. I didn't need to worry, as I had plenty of time. I checked the alarm once more. Then fell asleep as if someone switched me off. Oh, man.
もしもし。
Oh, okay. We're calling Keiichi. Right.
園崎の妹の方です。こんにちは。今はお時間大丈夫ですか。
シオンか。ミオンと同じで、今日は寝不足で寝込んでるんじゃないかと思ったぜ。
She sure was.
ひょっとしてお姉、相対お姉らしい。
Keiichi had no idea that the Mion he saw earlier was actually me. He didn't notice when we talked in person, so there's no way he would notice on the phone. I never knew that playing 2 roles would be so much fun. To feel such enjoyment in this game of life or death, maybe I was getting used to this situation. Or maybe my senses had gone numb.
ごめんな。ちょっと親が電話待ちをしてるんで、そんなに長話はできないんだ。何の用だ?
Right, who were they waiting on a call from? Something about, like, Keiichi's dad's job, right?
お話ししたいことがあったんですけど、長電話が無理じゃ仕方ないですね。
じゃあさ、会って話をしないか。ついでに図書館にも案内してもらえるとありがたい。
Oh, right. And he has to return the library books for his mom. Yeah,
図書
yeah,
館
yeah.
って
That's why they
駅前
did.
の私立図書館ですか。別にいいですよ。バイトのついでってことで。
We decided to meet in Okonomiya. It wasn't easy to get there from Hinamizawa, but I had to hurry. I remember thinking about this. I remember this being part of my confusion about Shion, thinking like, would it be possible for her to get there? Because if her and Keiichi both leave Hinamizawa at the same time, how does she get there and be Shion before he gets there? But I guess she just hurries. I don't know. Because I remember this was part of my confusion about trying to suss out when the Mion Shion switch happens in chapter 2 was this, right? Was like how I felt like that Shion had to have already been in Okonomiya, but I guess she just wasn't. I guess I was just wrong. Like, I don't know. I couldn't run into Keiichi was heading there himself. Yeah. I recalled that the key to the hag's motorcycle was in her secret drawer. The hag usually got driven around for public events, but when she had her own errands, she rode her motorcycle. Okay. I hope we aren't gonna have another motorcycle-related problem, are we? Keiichi, I assume, was going to ride his bicycle. I tried to get to Okonomiya before he did. Okay. Keiichi arrived quite a bit later than me. Motorcycles are faster, after all. There were hardly any traffic lights to worry about on the way here, either.
ミオンと違って、シオンは待ち合わせ時間を守るな。しみじみ。
お姉を標準にされるといろいろと困ります。
Interesting.
少しフラフラしてないか？お前も夕べは寝不足だろ。隠しても無駄だぞ。で、学校を早退したに違いない。
I mean, it's just so obvious now that of course it was the same person. Like, it was so obvious. I remember him saying this in chapter 2 and me having been like, so is this just the same Shion Mion, you know? But I couldn't figure out how it would work. But no, I mean, obviously it's just, yeah, no, it makes sense.
残念でした。私はそもそも今日はずる休みしてますので。私 お姉より要領いいですから。
おいおい、学校をずる休みするの容量いいとは言わないと思うぞ。
They're true, honestly.
先に用事を片付けます？時間もそんなにないですから。図書館へ行くんですよね。
ああ、頼むよ。おふくろの借りてる本の返却期限が今日までらしいんで。図書館は遠いのか？
すぐ近くですよ。
But they're like murder mystery books, right? That's what his mom likes. I meant it when I said we didn't have much time. I had to hurry a little. Oh yeah, she's got to make it to the meeting, yeah. I was going to talk to him on the phone, but I ended up coming all the way to Okonomiya. After our talk, Keiichi would slowly head back to Hinamizawa on his bicycle. I'd have to rush back there while making sure I didn't run into him. How do you even do that? Isn't there literally like one road between Okonomiya and Hinamizawa? I don't know. Otherwise, I couldn't make it on time for the meeting. Maybe I could be a little late, but since I needed to hear everything they were going to discuss, I didn't want to be. This was the Shishibone Public Library. It was sizable, filled with a collection of moldy, smelly books. But they did have air conditioning, and it was quiet. It was the perfect place for when you wanted to be alone. After Sachi-kun disappeared last year, I came here a lot to think about various things. This was where I first met Takano-san. Yeah, I didn't want to run into her with Keiichi in tow. But then I remembered that she was already dead. Well, but kinda. The first floor of the building was occupied by government offices. The library itself was on the second floor, so we had to walk up a huge staircase to get there. I tasted cool air on my skin as soon as I walked through the automated door. The best track. I feel like I've said the best track about like 5 different tracks, but like, I don't know, I love this one. What's this one called again? Iru. Right, okay. Unlike outside, it was very quiet in here. The room temperature was both comfortable and suitable for books. I could smell the scent of old pages.
どこの図書館も似たようなもんだな。
Keiichi walked up to the return table after he said so. Because it was a weekday, there was hardly anyone around. It was really very quiet. I was going to chat about some ordinary things, and then move on to the main subject. After Keiichi returned the books, I invited him into the inner section of the library. Keiichi knew Mion well, but he didn't know me at all. He showed an interest in our life story. This was exactly what Takano-san told me about the true history of Hinamizawa a year ago. I mean, the true history, like maybe. I was about to tell Keiichi about things that were very similar to that. Did God have a sense of irony?
言われてみれば、例のおもちゃ屋も親類の人が経営してるみたいだったな。
Right,
そうい
right.
えば、エンジェルモートも親類の人が経営してるんじゃないのか？
Sad we never got to see, like, Angel Mort stuff from her point of view, you know? I told him the reason why the Sonozaki family was so powerful in this area. I assumed that since Keiichi came from the city, there was a good chance he couldn't even begin to understand how one old family could literally control an entire area. Unless I explained to him how powerful the Sonozaki family was, he wouldn't understand what kind of danger was barreling toward him.
特に金融・不動産関係は強いですね。あと商工会議所の役員も何割かは
Right.
園崎姓かその親類がついてます。沖宮一帯を評伝に市議会議員と県議会議員にも園崎がいますし。
ちょっと待て。なんだかすごい話になってきたぞ。沖宮の町中に親類が経営する店があって、特に金融・不動産に強い。しかもその上、商工会議所の役員の何割かが親類で、しかも地元選出の議員までいて。
What was the position of that one guy who goes in and like yells at Oishi during that tip in chapter 2? I don't even remember. He was like I don't know. He was someone like high up in the government, right? Keiichi counted with his fingers. He was clearly surprised to hear all that about the Sonozaki family. It seemed he was flexible enough to accept even something that sounded outrageous to him. He was starting to understand things, although slowly. The way he viewed Shion Sonozaki was changing little by little too. That should be enough background information. Now, I could go on to explain about Mion Sonozaki, the successor. Then I'd change the subject, like Takano-san did with me. I'd go on to talk about the curse of Eishiro-sama, and then the series of mysterious deaths.
ひょっとして園崎家って。
Oops, I skipped that line. Yeah, I knew he was gonna fucking show up. Okay. What's up, Oishi?
すごいんです。
Yeah. A fat man with a cigarette suddenly cut into a conversation. Thank you. Oishi? Why is he here?
どうも。こんにちは。
You know, Shion, I have asked myself that same question so many times, and I never get a satisfactory answer, right? Like, I mean, there's, like, It's one of life's greatest mysteries, frankly. I mean, like, that's gonna be a rough one, you know.
今日はデートですかな羨ましいですね。
God, I bet she fucking hates him saying that.
そうだと思ったら邪魔しないでほしかったですね。
Like all the stuff about Satoshi, you know?
おいさん。
What timing? It couldn't be coincidence. I knew this man too well. He was crafty, sly, and clever. Very. He's so good at, like, manipulating people and predicting them and all of that, you know? His presence here just can't be a coincidence. Did he see us somewhere in town and follow us? But why? Did he need something from me, Keiichi, or perhaps the both of us? From what I could guess, I didn't think that it was me that he wanted something from. It was almost like he was trying to keep Keiichi away from me. Uishi was aware I gave false testimony to protect Satoshi-kun last year. Maybe he didn't think he could talk to Keiichi if I was around. Why did Uishi need to talk to Keiichi? It must be about the incident from yesterday. I'm sure there were plenty of plainclothes officers at the festival, so they had to have seen who was last with the victims. In other words, Keiichi and me, and we know that's true, right? I remember, God, it was like a chapter 1 tip or something, right? Or was it a chapter 2 tip? Where they just talk about, like, gearing up for the festival and everything. So I'm sure, I'm pretty sure this is, yeah, they're definitely cops there, ready. But Uishi knew I was hard to deal with. That was why he was focusing on Keiichi at present. Why did he have to show up at a time like this?
前原さんでしたよね。あ
Man,
なたもタフな人ですね。園崎姉妹を二股かけるなんて。
if Keiichi just, like, never met Uishi ever in any of the chapters, just everything would always go so much better, wouldn't it? Is Uishi ever a positive influence on, like, what actually happens? You know what I mean? Ever? Like, at all? In the slightest? All he does is make Keiichi want to die. Like, there's no, like, nothing good ever comes of it. Like, man.
いや、そんな二股だなんて。
Keiichi looked at me, hoping for assistance. He blushed. The way he panicked reminded me of Satoshi-kun. Oh, God. That aside, this wasn't going well. Uishi might even start talking about my relationship with Satoshi-kun. I didn't want him to, nor did I want Keiichi to have any preconceptions. Uishi took a quick glance at me. His eyes told me something. He was purposefully talking about the things I'd rather not talk about. He was basically telling me to leave or to continue on to something that was worse than what they were currently talking about. He didn't use words, but his eyes clearly communicated that anyway. Yeah, he's a master at manipulating poor children. Like, it's good job, Uishi. Damn that big fat weasel. Like, I guess, I suppose.
私もうバイトの時間なんです。
あ、そうなのか。
I realized that I wouldn't achieve anything like this, even if I stayed longer, so I used my part-time job as an excuse to leave. Uishi looked at me and grinned. Damn it. He won today, but I'll win next time.
そういえば、
She kinda does win in the end,
何
right?
か話があるん
Uishi,
じゃなかったのか。
Uishi doesn't figure it out, right?
なんなら、
また今度。
Oh, yeah, she'll call him.
バイ
Right,
トが終
right.
わったら電話します。夜なら電話大丈夫ですよね。
ああ、大丈夫だと思う。
じゃあ今夜電話しますので、その時じゃ。
Okay, off we go, off we go. We gotta go to the meeting. Okay. Oh. Man, my muscles are sore. I don't know why. Oh. Okay. It's like actually been so weird. Like last night, I have no idea why, just my legs were like so tired. I was just lying in bed, like exhausted. I have no idea why. Maybe I'm dying. Who knows? The hag's motorcycle had become my primary means of transportation. My next stop was the staff meeting at the Furude Shrine Assembly Hall. It was easy to imagine how a normal meeting would play out if it were just celebrating the end of Watanagashi. But today's staff meeting was likely going to be strained as the Sonozaki family councils. As strained as the Sonozaki family councils. Yes, the staff meeting was going to deal with the heart of Hinamizawa. I couldn't let my guard down, even for a moment. I rested for a while at the house, then left for the meeting. I walked up the long stairs to the Furude Shrine. At the top, I saw some elderly men smoking in front of the hall. Since they had a minor fire a long time ago, it had been made into a non-smoking area. Interesting. What's up, Kimiyoshi? The head of the Kimiyoshi family, Uncle Kimiyoshi, noticed me and waved. He must not have expected Mion to come alone. Normally, it would have been either the hag by herself or Mion tagging along as an
バッチャ
assistant.
は
Yeah,
夕
it's
べ
gonna
のあれ以
be...
来機嫌を相当悪くしちゃいまして、
Like, how much are they gonna buy this? How much are they gonna buy this, I wonder, right? Because it's like unprecedented, right? I also wonder, like how well she's actually going to do pretending to be Mion as like as the successor, you know, as the acting head of the Sonozaki family, you know? I wonder.
誰も近づけず布団にこもりきりです。
They all understood how troublesome she was in a bad mood, when in a bad mood. They smiled bitterly in sympathy.
今日はミオンちゃんが園崎家当主代行ということでいいね。お嬢さんから話とか聞いてる？
一応
What did he mean, has Oryu-san told you anything? That line by itself didn't really explain much. The staff meeting was usually led by the mayor, the head of the Kimiyoshi family, and he'd asked me, as the substitute for the Sonozaki family head, if I'd heard anything from her. I then realized he was supposed to lead today's staff
お
meeting.
じじゃなくて、君吉さん、今日の会合だけど司会
Of course,
私じゃない
I'm
と。
sure. According to the ranking order at the family councils, any substitute for the Sonozaki family head is above the Kimiyoshi family head. In other words, I'd have to lead today's meeting. Oh god, and she doesn't know anything. There's no way I could do that.
大丈夫大丈夫。おじいちゃんがやるから。
Okay,
ミオン
okay.
ちゃんは座ってればいいよ。お嬢さんから聞いてる話があったら話してくれればいいからね。
How is she gonna perceive that? How is she going to take that? What does she think he's saying that she should have heard from Oryu?
村長、
I
そろそろ
wonder,
始めますかいね。全員揃いましたね。
I mean, I guess obviously the question is like, what are they even going to talk about? What are they even going to talk about, right? The murders, right? Or the disappearances, Tamataki and Takano. They're going to talk about that. They had nothing to do with it, right? I wonder. The smokers put out their cigarettes and went back into the hall. The tables were set in a horseshoe shape, and I was told to sit next to the chair reserved for the chief. The seat opposite mine was empty. Considering its location, it was probably for the Furude family head, Rika Furude. But somebody had said earlier that everybody was already here. Either Rika-chama had called in absent, or the empty seat was just a formality. Knowing the subject of this meeting, I don't think that the Furude family head would even want to attend. Even if Rika-chama actually attended, she wouldn't be able to say anything. All she'd usually do at the Sonozaki family councils was draw pictures on a notepad. She would probably end up drawing pictures in this meeting too. Besides, they probably didn't want her to hear anything unpleasant. In this way, the empty Furude family seat was easily explained. Okay. When everyone was seated, the head of the Women's Association served tea. She gave me an evil look, trying to tell me to help out. I got up and did so. Jesus. After that, everyone fell quiet, and the secretary stood up.
それでは皆さん、本日は大変お忙しい中、緊急にお集まりいただきまして、それでははじめに村長さんからご挨拶をいただきます。村長、どうぞ。
座ったままで失礼します。
He's old.
ケンちゃんも座ったままでいいよ。今日は平日の夕方にお集まりいただきまして、また昨日は綿流しを本当にお疲れ様でございました。おかげさまで本年も事故もなく大変な盛況のうちに終了させることができました。
No mishaps,
祭り
huh?
にも村中から大勢がいらっしゃり、本当に素晴らしい祭りになったものと思うとります。来たの何人だっけ？
I wonder how many people do show up, huh?
大本営発表だと5000人だそうです。
5,000. God damn. Wahahaha. Everyone laughed except me.
今後もますますの文化の向上のために一丸となって頑張ってまいりたいと思います。よろしくお願いいたします。
Clap, clap, clap. An applause with only 8 people doesn't sound so great.
それでは引き続き議事の方に入ってまいりたいと思います。本日の議事を君吉村長さんにお願いしようと思います。承認していただける方は拍手でご承認願います。
Clap, clap, clap.
ありがとうございます。それではただいま万座でのご承認をいただきましたんで、君吉村長さんに司会を譲りたいと思います。よろしくお願いします。
どうもケンちゃんお疲れ様。 では司会を引き継ぎましたので、申し訳ない。
Oh
カー
god.
テン閉
It's
めま
that
しょう
serious,
か
huh?
ね。
Everyone closed the curtains nearest to them. The sun was still up, but with all the curtains closed, the room became very dark. The village chief explained the details of the incident, as well as what went on with the police. The police vehicle discovered Tomitake-san's body on its way back to Okunomiya last night. Oishi's special curse unit was standing by, expecting something to happen for the 5th time, so they responded quickly. Since Tomitake-san and Takano-san were rarely apart, Oishi got in touch with the neighboring prefectural police departments and asked them to look for her. As a result, they found a burned body of a woman in the mountains of the Gifu prefecture. I still wonder how they didn't find her in chapter 1, right? That's still something I just don't... I don't know. Like, what would have been different, you know? What would have changed? What would have been different? And the body was then identified as Mio Takano. Considering the circumstances, the police ended up labeling the incident as the 5th of the ongoing series of mysterious deaths. When he finished, there was dead silence. I watched to see who would speak first. Nobody said a thing. No mention of the Saiguden, right? Because I don't think any of them know, right? Then, I noticed Kamiyoshi-san looking at me, although Shion has already spread it to several people, right? This is where the head of the Sonozaki family would speak.
ミオンちゃん、お嬢さんは何か言ってたか？
Said anything about this whole thing? How is she gonna respond? How is she gonna respond? Because she's so wrong, I think, about the Sonozaki's, like, connection to all of this, right? So, what is she gonna say? Everyone looked in my direction. I was sure they could see the hag in me.
園崎家当主代行園崎美音です。本日は当主お寮に代わりまして出席させていただきました。よろしくお願いいたします。
I became Mion. God, what a line. I tried to become as cold and unfeeling as the Mion I witnessed a year ago. That cold version of Mion was inside of me. That was me. I was her. Ooh, yeah.
不幸にしてお社様のお怒りは5年目にも下されることになりました。大変悲しいことです。
It's just gonna be so hard for her to not say something that doesn't make any sense, I feel like, right? Because I think she has such an incorrect perception of the Sonozaki's connection to the curse murders. I mean, I feel like she's starting off good though, right? If I guess, I mean, I'm really assuming that I'm correct on all of this, obviously, but like I don't think the Sonozakis actually have anything to do with it. And maybe, I guess, from her perspective too, maybe she thinks that no one in this room would know anything about their connection to it either. So, like, maybe she'll be fine, right? Everyone was held captive by my words. I wasn't a little girl anymore. The hag was speaking through my mouth. They all heard me and trembled in fear.
どうして今年もたたりがあったかわかる方はいますか？
Interesting. After my question, everyone whispered to each other.
そう。西宮殿の金を犯し、
Okay.
土足で聖域を踏み荒らして汚れを持ち込んだからです。
Interesting. But like this is so... I feel like this could be so weird, you know? A few elderly men got up and yelled. Oh god. I mean, you know, we know the old people really do believe in it, right? That's a great voice. The angry old men yelled even as they trembled in fear. Their sudden change scared me more than a little. Even Uncle Kamiyoshi, who was usually so gentle and sweet, became like a demon of war, cursing those who broke the rule of the ritual storehouse. It had become like a raging ocean inside the assembly hall. Their yells spun about like a whirlpool. They roared, crashed, and howled. Even while doing nothing but watch, I could feel myself turning pale. Mion threatened me yesterday, and Kasai had been shocked this morning. What I saw before me was similar to that. Even the sweet and gentle Uncle Kamiyoshi was saying they deserved to die. Yeah. I was fearful of the sudden change in those elderly men. More than anything, the fact that they all believed that those people deserved to die for trespassing is what terrified me. It wasn't just that, of course. The real thing I was scared of was that I was one of the people they wanted dead. In other words, it was almost like they were telling me to die of the curse. If they were to find out I snuck into the ritual storehouse, it was very possible that they would strangle me on the spot. Huh. Actually, they might not kill me that easily. By then, I was certain. The people in this room were true believers in Orishiro-sama, just like the hag. Yeah. Although I wonder, I don't know if I agree with her that the hag, that Oryu, truly believe in Orishiro-sama or not. I guess she could, right? I guess I just think of her as more cold and calculating than that, but I don't know. Hard to say, I suppose. They wouldn't hesitate to murder whoever made Orishiro-sama angry on his behalf. Even if they didn't carry out the killing themselves, they would pretend they didn't see anything. Yes, not even if my head was cut off right in front of them. Everyone here would act in collusion and say I never attended today. If they all testified that they waited and I didn't show, I'd be demoned away. It would be far too easy for them to erase someone and have them disappear. There was no mistake. The people linking the hag and the curse were definitely here at this meeting. Interesting. Okay. I continued speaking. I was Mion Sonozaki. Wait, let me read that again, actually. I'm sorry. I just feel like... I don't know. I guess I don't really know what to say about the people here, like, being fine with the idea of them being murdered for what they did, other than it's just like religious fanaticism, right? I mean, that's really just what it comes down to for most of these people, I assume. I don't think any of them, obviously, I don't think any of them have anything to do with the actual, like, curse murders themselves, right? I don't... I was Mion Sonozaki. I was on the side responsible for the curse. Therefore, at the moment, I didn't need to worry about anything. Nobody could tell the difference between Mion and me. That's what would keep me safe.
お静かにお願いします。
ほら、静かに静かに。
Uncle Kimiyoshi helped me quiet everyone, but his tone was violent. He really scared me. What I do think is interesting, and I wonder if this is kind of part of where we're heading to, with like the whole thing that the way that Shion acts at like the end of chapter 2 towards Mion is like right now, she's in Mion's shoes, and she sees that she herself is so easily able to fulfill her role, right? Like, Shion is so easily able to be Mion, to be the successor to the family, right? It makes it so clear that this whole thing was stupid the whole time, right? The idea that it had to be Mion who's the successor and not her. I wonder how is she going to think about that, right? How is that going to be what changes her attitude so much towards Mion, like as we saw at the end of chapter 2? The idea that she should have been the successor the whole time, right? Obviously, that's a very different. That's a different line of thinking than the way I want her to go, of course, right? I wonder, right? Because it's like if we compare it to the way she was thinking, earlier on in this chapter, in the earlier subchapters, she was so deferent towards Mion. She was really, I guess none of that had anything to do with her truly believing that Mion was in some way better than her, I guess. It was just like something she was like trained and taught to act that way for her whole life, you know? Everyone gradually became silent.
西宮殿に忍び込んだ賊は4人。
Oh man,
あ
yeah.
と2人います。
People once more became restless upon hearing that, but Uncle Kimiyoshi yelled at them again, and they settled down.
富武さんと高野さんは分別のつくお年だったはずですからね。お社
Interesting.
様のたたりが直ちに下りましたが、もう2人は子供です。まだたたりは免れていますが、何のけじめもなく許されることはありません。
Why say all of this? Why say all of this? Everyone stayed quiet that time. They had all genuinely turned pale, trying not to miss a word I said. After all, they were all thinking that the kids I mentioned could be their own relatives or even grandchildren. I guess again, it's like her idea during this meeting, I suppose, is try and figure out who the person that's actually responsible for the murders themselves are, I guess, right? So she's trying to set up the idea that there need to be more, right? They wanted to know who they were, to put their minds at ease.
その2人の狼藉者
Oh
は
God.
園崎紫音、そして前原圭一。
I could feel the air getting drier. It was so dry, it almost felt like it was going to start making a crackling noise.
園崎紫音はすでに
I couldn't hear the old people breathe. Couldn't even hear the old people breathe. I took a peek at Uncle Kimiyoshi, who was sitting next to me. He had adored Shion as if she were his own granddaughter, but she had been demoned away. I wanted to see how distressed and sad he'd look. Interesting, yeah. And when I saw his face... Oh, that actually scared me. That actually scared me. Okay. I felt a sensation on my back, as if my skin itself was making a cracking noise. He didn't even have an expression on his face. Uncle Kimiyoshi adored me. I loved him and thought he loved me too. That's why I expected him to be saddened after learning that I met with such a cruel fate. What was I thinking? The memory of his warm smile shattered inside me. Oh, okay. So this is why. This is why she has such a reaction, right? Because it does hurt her so much, right? Yeah. There was no way of describing the fear I experienced in that moment. In mere words. He had suddenly changed into someone I didn't even recognize. Uncle Kimiyoshi noticed me looking at him and spoke.
もう一人の前原圭一は
まだです。
I wonder, right? I wonder how he actually feels. I wonder if he actually is that cold about this, or if it's just, it would be out of place right now. You know, like, because again, it's not like I don't think it would be good for him in this situation. Even if he is, like, torn up by Shion allegedly dying, right? I don't think he would, like, show those emotions in this situation. You know what I mean? I had to take a deep breath to regain my composure.
西宮殿を犯した4人、すべてにお社様はたたりを下されるでしょう。前原圭一も例外ではありませんよ。
Using him as the bait, right? So he's the bait. Whoever it is should go after him now, from her perspective. Right. Chilling looks, cruel looks, emotionless looks, shrewd looks, and the looks of people who were about to snap. I could feel the demons chewing my words while they stared at me with their sharp eyes. I could see some of them sticking their snake-like tongues in and out. I could see the flames in some of their eyes. They were memorizing the names of the intruder the curse had yet to fall upon. And so, the meeting went on. We were told not to tell the police too much, to report what they asked us, and to hold another meeting whenever something of significance happened. I wonder how Rena learns about it, because remember in Chapter 2, Rena ends up knowing? If something unexpected took place, I guess it probably just spreads from here, right? We were to get in touch with either the head of the Kimiyoshi family or the head of the Sonozaki family for instructions on what to do. With those closing remarks, the meeting was over. Okay. It was already getting dark outside. Being in a valley surrounded by mountains, once the sun went down in Hinamizawa, it got dark quickly. I just wonder how different the way that Shion handled it there was, compared to the way that Oryu normally talks about the curse after it happens every year, you know? I wonder. It's not like anyone... You know, it didn't seem like anyone thought what she was saying was that strange, certainly. Even if it was hot during the day, it cooled down quickly at night. The elderly people said goodbye to each other and left on their bicycles, on their motorcycles, or in their cars. Because it is a bunch of people who genuinely do believe in Oishiro-sama, for sure, right? Uncle Kimiyoshi waved them goodbye and started to head home himself. I called after him.
君吉さん、この後ご予定はありますか？
Oh, God. I called him Kimiyoshi-san instead of Uncle Kimiyoshi. He stopped.
いや何もないよ。
うちへ寄ってもらえませんか？
お嬢さんが呼んでるのかい？
はい。直接会って話したいことがあるんだとか。
じゃあやるかな。
Oh God. Uncle Kimiyoshi arrived at the Sonozaki house. He often came to the house to have secret meetings with the hag, so he wasn't suspicious at all. I invited Uncle Kimiyoshi into the living room. Like, what's she gonna fucking do? Just start chopping him into pieces? I guess. Man. I guess I don't know. I guess I don't know if Kimiyoshi is in any way responsible for anything. Again, I doubt he deserves to be murdered, right? I doubt that. It's really hard. You know, I feel like it's in the same vein. Her thinking that whatever relationship he had with Kimiyoshi, that was so meaningful to her in some way. Her now thinking that because of his reaction there, that it was all fake and he actually hates her and blah, 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 right? That's in the same vein as, like, the early chapters, like, the attitude of thinking that Keiichi's friends are actually secret evil psychopaths, right? Like, thematically, I just feel like it can't be true that Kimiyoshi is actually like that, you know what I mean? At the very least, it's like him deciding to not show his emotions in that moment, assuming he does feel them, I guess I don't know, right? It is a way, of course, that, like, even if he feels this connection to Shion and he does feel sad about it, it's something bigger than that, right? The whole Sonozaki family and the way this whole, like, power structure with all of this works, right? It's it is being put over Shion in a way, but just like, again, it's not Kimiyoshi deciding that, I suppose, right? I served him a cup of tea and told him I was going to fetch the hag. I left the room and killed some time down the hallway.
バッチャ、着替えたから来るそうで
Oh
す。
god.
ちょっと時間かかるかもです。
いやいや、ゆっくり待ってるから。
Uncle Kimiyoshi relaxed as he sipped his cup of tea. I sat next to him. I mean, is she already just thinking, oh, I'm gonna kill this guy? I mean, she must be, right? So I just like, oh god.
多分シオンの話じゃないかな
Okay,
と思います。
really trying to get his feelings here, I guess. I mentioned my name and watched for his reaction. Uncle Kimiyoshi looked so grim. I couldn't even tell if he heard me. I decided to continue speaking until he reacted in some
シ
way.
オンは去年がありますからね。北条家の人間なんかと懇意になるなんて。
去年は、爪を剥いで許してもらったんだったね。
ええ、3枚剥いで。
Uncle Kimiyoshi folded his arms and thought for a while.
シオンちゃんは今は
地下にいます。
様子はどうなんだい？
Uncle Kimiyoshi sounded worried. When I heard that, I felt relieved that Uncle Kimiyoshi was on my side. Right, but not really. You can't really tell him anything. You can't be like, oh yeah, I killed Oryu, and Mion's in a cage, and I, like, that, oh god. His anger in the assembly hall was just an
ずっ
act.
と泣いていますよ。
ミオンちゃん、率直なところ、お嬢さんはシオンちゃんのことをどうするって言ってるんだ？
具体的なことは聞いてません。ご
Uh,
存知と思いますけど、バッチャは怒りが度を超えると逆に無口になりますからね。
西宮殿に入ったんだもんな。しかも自分とこの身内がな。
yeah.
そりゃそうだろうな。
Uncle Kimiyoshi thought that the hag must be unsure of what to do with Shion.
おじいちゃんはシオンの処遇どうなると思います？
そりゃ爪3枚よりもっと
yeah.
重いことになるだろう
And
な。
like from her perspective, that just further justifies what she's been doing the whole time, right? Of course. Oh god.
お嬢さんのことだから身内に甘くするってことはないと思う。
It's yeah.
むしろ
Not that
身
she
内
gives a
だから
shit
こ
about
そ
Shion anyway.
厳しく当たるだろうからな。
何しろ西宮殿に入ったんですものね。それは許されないことでしょうね。
さすがにな。
No, it's just so fucking stupid. It just does. Who cares? Like again, it's so dumb. It's so dumb, right? Like, I mean, I guess it's just the same. It's just the whole Sonozaki system and Shion's place in it in the first place, right? It's in the same vein as that. The idea that you can't go into this magical storehouse or you have to be tortured to death. Like, it's just dumb. Like, it just pisses me off, you know?
西宮殿はな。
And it must feel hurtful. It'd feel very hurtful to me to see someone who I think cares about me put the idea of that stupid Saiguden being sacred over like my life, you know, and think I have to be so punished for it, you
で
know.
もシオンもかわいそうかもしれません。
Oh yeah.
だってずっとひなみ沢から遠ざけられてきたんです。
But it's not about that. It's because she's a Sonozaki, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about you. It doesn't matter what you know. It's same with the Sachi situation, right? It doesn't matter. Anything about you doesn't matter, right? You're a Sonozaki and that's it, right? So
西宮殿の不可侵性は知ってはいたでしょうが、そこまでいけないことだという認識は多分なかったんでしょうから。
確かにシオンちゃんは不憫だよな。
only she wasn't a Sonozaki.
私かシオンか
Ooh.
背中の入れ墨を見る以外に
Yeah, the
私たちを
tattoo.
どんな方法で
The
区別
tattoo.
できるというのですか？何もない。ミオンとシオンなんて区別自体が
Interesting. Yeah.
何の意味もないのに。
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Of course, it's stupid, right? Twins are proof of bad luck. One should be eliminated as soon as they are born. Such is the family precept. The hag actually put her hands around my neck right after I came out of the womb. Yeah. That's how the story went, at least. In the end, the hag didn't kill me, but instead pretended I didn't exist. She forced herself to call one of us Mion and the other Shion. She adored Mion and she hated Shion. My sister and I never understood why we had to go through that. We didn't care who was Mion or Shion. So one day, we came up with an idea. We decided to share the joy Mion experienced and the sadness Shion experienced. We often switched places. We were both Mion, and at the same time, we were both Shion. Adults around us tried to put different clothes on us or style our hair differently so they could tell us apart, but they probably just like switched those things too, right? I mean, it makes sense, right? As children, of course, they would think this whole thing is stupid. It would be so obviously like just dumb to them, right? Especially being identical twins, like it's like, yeah, people literally can't tell them apart. Like it's like it makes it so obvious that it's just like dumb, that it's just dumb, right? Like that they so much are just like the same, you know? That was nonsense. No matter what they did to us, all we had to do was switch places, and nobody could tell us apart. Finally, they decided that we switched places because we were always together. On that day, Shion got to go to an amusement park. Since then, we've been separated. Interesting.
ミオンちゃん。
私にはシオンがどういう将軍になるか想像もつきません。そしてどんなことに決まっても意見できる立場にありません。バッチャは身内であればむしろ意見を聞かない人ですし。
そうだな。お嬢さんの悪いところだよ。
シオンは園崎シオンでなければとっくに殺されていたことでしょう。
Is that right?
死に準ずる罰が果たしてどのようなものか。
Yeah.
私殺されなかったにしたって多分一生日の光を見ることはできないでしょう。
She keeps making it more and more extreme to see if he's gonna say anything, you know? Yeah.
鬼隠しということかと。
ミオンちゃん、シオンちゃんは反省してるんだろ？
ええ。
In response, Uncle Kimiyoshi tapped my shoulder and then slapped his own chest. He smiled reliably.
大丈夫。シオンちゃんがちゃんと反省してるなら、
well,
鬼隠しなんかなるもんか。
Too late now.
キミヨシのおじいちゃんに任せなさい。
He really did want to protect her.
本当に大丈夫なんですか？
そりゃお嬢さんは私に意見されたら怒りはするだろうけどさ。でもおじいちゃんは引かないよ。シオンちゃんがしっかり反省してるんだから、許してあげてほしいってちゃんと頼んでみせるから。
Tears began to fall from my eyes that there was someone who would have protected her and cared about her, at least, right? I knew it. Uncle Kimiyoshi was my ally after all. He said he would forgive Shion. He was my ally. I was so very happy.
本当に去年の北条聡くんみたいに鬼隠しになっちゃったりしないでしょうか？
Uncle Kimiyoshi smiled reliably again and told me.
罰当たりの北条家の坊主ならいいぜ。
Go.
園崎家のシオンちゃんならきっと許してもらえるって。
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. He shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have said that. Huh? Oh no.
北条家の坊主って
Oh God.
聡くんのこと
Oh
ですか？
no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
去年の犠
Oh
牲者
God.
北条の連中は仕方ないさ。村を丸ごと売ろうとした売国と同然の奴らだ。
Right.
そういう奴らなら鬼隠しだってありえるだろうけど、そりゃ北条家だからの話だよ。
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God.
一
Oh
族
God.
老
Oh
とみんな
no.
呪われて当然だ。
Oh God.
鬼隠しに遭う
Oh no. Oh God. Oh Jesus Christ. Oh God.
だから、
Oh
シオンちゃんは
God.
大丈夫。
Oh God. Oh God. And this is like so bad, right? Like this is like so bad, right? Like it's putting all this importance on Shion being a Sonozaki, which is like it's like she doesn't even want, right? Like that's like such a like oh Jesus Christ.
大丈夫なんだよ。
But it's like she doesn't oh Jesus. Oh Christ.
おじいちゃん。でも聡くんは去年シオンがけじめをつけたから見逃してもらえることになったんじゃないの？
Okay, right. But he disappeared afterwards. They don't know why. I don't think the Sonozakis had anything to do with it. They don't know why. And then after it happens, they justify it as it, you know, being you know, they're just gonna say, oh, it must have not been enough what Shion did, blah 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 blah, right? Like it's like they take credits for the disappearances, right? It's like they come up with their own explanation for it that fits into like what they're doing here, you know. But from Shion's perspective, it's gonna seem like, of course, that they were responsible. So,
けじめ
God.
なんの
ほら爪を3枚剥いだじゃないですか。葛西さん、吉郎おじさん、それからサトシくんで3人分3枚。
え ?3 枚ってそ
Oh
ういうの
God. Oh God. Oh God. Huh? What? Oh fuck. Oh Jesus Christ.
あの3枚はそういう意味じゃなかったんですか？
いや合ってるよ。関わった人間が3人だから
Oh
3枚
God.
の
Oh
爪でけじめ
God.
として
Oh
ない
God. Oh God.
そう私も聞いてるよ。でも
But why did he disappear? Right? Exactly. Why did he disappear after that?
葛
Right?
西さん、吉郎さん、それからしおんちゃんで3枚だと
Oh
聞いてた
God.
よ。
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. What? Eh? What? Huh? Eh? What? I endured excruciating pain? Oh God, for herself. That's like, God, it's so, the camera looks so bad right now, the lighting, because of the fucking, how bright this is. The first one, I mean, I can turn this down, that won't really help that much. The first one was my left pinky, then the ring finger, and then the middle finger. People held me down so I couldn't move. God, I gotta fix my hair, it's driving me insane. Ugh. People held me down so I couldn't move, but I endured. My hair always bothers me with these headphones because I don't want it like over my ears because it's like it feels weird with this on, but it's like barely not long enough to really like fit to like stay back, you know? It's so annoying. People held me down so I couldn't move, but I endured. I had to endure 3 nails. I didn't know which nail was for Sachi-kun. If my middle finger is for Sachi-kun, and obviously she would so much rather have pulled off a nail for Satoshi than for herself, right? Of course, right? Like, if my middle finger was for Sachi-kun, I'd have to endure until the middle finger was done, so that Sachi-kun would be forgiven. That's why I endured. Even Mion said afterwards, like it's gonna make her feel like she, like, chose herself over him somehow, right? Like, oh God. Even Mion said afterwards, everything was forgiven. Huh? 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 Mion, didn't you say Sachi-kun was forgiven? Didn't you? That's what I heard. I think that's what I heard. Or did I? Eh? Eh? Huh? Oh God. Oh God. I felt the air move. There shouldn't have been a breeze in that room, but I felt it anyway. The cool air stroked the back of my neck. That was when my true self stood up right behind me and nodded. Your true self, huh? Okay, okay. Although there was no wind, my hair billowed. The burning wickedness buried deep inside my eyes became visible.
どうして北条聡君は鬼隠しにあったのでしょう。
え
聡君のご両親は確かに村を売ろうとしました。お社様のたたりがあったのは当然です。でも聡君はその両親の子供であっただけ。
The same way you are simply a Sonozaki and have no, you know, yeah, like oh
その
God.
聡君にどんな罪が？
みおんちゃん
聡君にどんな罪があったのかと尋ねてい
He
ます。
doesn't know, right? It's justified. It's justified after the fact, right? That's the entire point, right? It's justified after the fact, as like yeah, it's justified after the fact, right? It's like I've been saying the whole time, right? Yeah, like let me turn this back up. I don't know if that looks better or not. I don't know. Who cares?
あなたはさっき罰当たりな北条家の坊主なら鬼隠しにあっても当然と言いました。鬼隠しにあっても当然などんな罪があったのかと聞いているのです。
Kimiyoshi didn't know what to say to the sudden question. He seemed dismayed.
聞かずともわかります。園崎お涼が決めたのです。お社様のたたりが及ぶのは北条の姓を持つすべての人間と決めたから。
It's like she would want people to think that, I believe, right?
まあ待ってみおんちゃん別にそういうことが決まってるわ
Ooh,
けじゃ
but
ない
he knows that's not
決
true.
めたわけではないのですか？
そうだよ
But they don't know what.
そんなこと見たことなんかない。
But they don't know what actually happened, right? Unless he's gonna say it was Oishiro-sama. But like,
北条家にはお社様のたたりがいずれ下る。そういう話をおぼろげにしたことはあっても、そんなにはっきりとしたことを言及したことは一度もないし。
right.
ではさっきあなたが口にしたという言葉は何を根拠に出たものなのですか？
ごめんよみおんちゃん。あれはその。
Okay, that is not gonna be a good enough answer for her.
北条家なら何があってもたたり。北条の名を冠していればどうなろうが知ったことではない。
Exactly.
そうい
Sure,
う考
right?
えが蔓延していることが問題なのです。
But that just means they use it as a justification
サトシ
for
に
it
罪があろ
afterwards,
うが
right?
なかろうが、北条という姓があればそれで汚らわしい。そういう考えが蔓延していることが問題なのです。そしてあなたはその蔓延でいぶされた汚れた思考に汚染された迷信盲信、許せない。お前のような存在が許せない。お前のようなやつがサトシ君たち一家を追い詰めて追い詰めてあんなにもすり減らして、サトシ君がかわいそう、本当にかわいそう。彼が何をしたの？何もしてない、何もやってない。ただ北条であっただけ。それにどんな罪が罰がたたりが呪いがどうして降りかからねばならなかったのか。一体サトシ君に何の罪があったというのか。
You're spitting like literally, like yeah, it's exactly right. Wow. Kimiyoshi's upper body bent backward and fell onto the floor. That was that. I put my stun gun in back in my pocket. Great. Good. Perfect. Awesome. Good. Good. Oh God.
ごめん、シオン。今なんて言った？
ゆうべ。
Oh, okay. Right, yeah, this is how it looks. Okay.
高野さんは焼死体で。
Oh God.
富武さんは自殺みたいな感じで。今朝知ったんです。お父さんが親類の人からの電話で話しているのを聞いて。
I just I feel so bad for her, and I understand everything she is doing so much. And in a way, and again, it's like in a way, I'm not justifying her actions. I'm not saying what she's doing is good. Because a murder is bad, right? Well, I don't think she should be torturing and murdering people. But I do think that the way they have treated her this whole time, it leading to this, kind of makes sense. I feel like it, they're kind of getting not really what they deserve, but they're kind of reaping what they sowed, right? Having this system be the way it is. You know what I mean? Again, not that I think Shion should be doing what she's doing, right? But it's I feel very limited sympathy for people who, for Oryu, for example. I guess we don't know what Kimiyoshi's actual. We don't know anything, I guess, about what Kimiyoshi, if he has anything to do with anything. You know what I mean? But as I thought, Keiichi didn't know anything about what happened after the festival last night.
マスコミに報道されないのは当然なんです。過去にそうだったから。
Keiichi insisted that unless he heard about it on the news, it couldn't be real. But the investigations into the series of mysterious deaths are done in secret now. Of course he didn't hear about it on the news.
村長とか、あと園崎家出身の金バッジが警察に思いっきり圧力をかけたんだって聞いてます。
じゃあつまり二人の死は秘密裏に処理されてしまったということか。
Of course,
そうい
of
うことで
course.
す。もちろん警察は捜査をしてますよ。でも秘匿捜査ということなので。捜査活動にはかなりの制限が加えられているそうです。これは事実上の捜査妨害と言えるでしょうね。
I mean, again, it's all of this, I'm just thinking, all of this brings me back to the idea, of course, of what actually happened to Satoshi, right? We know the Sonozakis didn't make him disappear. At least I'm quite confident that we know that, I think, right? Because Shion is so honed in on that as the answer, I feel like it can't be the answer. So what happened then? I just don't know. I just don't know.
信じられない。人が死んだのに、それが公にされず、ひそや。
もっと噛み砕いて言うと、綿流しの夜に誰が死んでも公にはならないという。
そんなバカな話があってたまるか。
I suppose.
ケイちゃん、私以前にお社様のたたりは村人が起こしてるかもしれないって言いましたよね。つまりそういうことなんです。このひなみ沢では毎年綿流しの夜にお社様のたたりということにして誰かを殺してもいい土壌がいつの間にか作り上げられているんです。
God, but she doesn't. actually believe that's it, right? Yes. That's the truth about the series of mysterious deaths in Yamizawa, also known as Erishiro-sama's curse. I mean, I guess she does. I guess that's just a weird way to phrase it. But no, I guess that is essentially, I guess that's basically the way she's thinking of it, right? I feel like it's just that is a weird way to phrase it, I guess. But sure. On the day of Watanagashi, 2 people would be killed. The perpetrators are using the curse of Erishiro-sama as an excuse to kill one victim and make another disappear. That's why the curse of Erishiro-sama takes place. That's what happens in Hinamizawa, and that's what happens with the curse. What Kimiyoshi said is all true. Infecting everyone with the idea that the enemy from the dam conflict deserved to die was the root of all of this. That was the system of vague commands used in the Sonozaki family, created by its head, Oryu. One thing that must be mentioned about the command system is that the person giving the orders and the one executing them didn't need to interact in any way. Just like the kidnapping stuff in Chapter 4, right? Although Oryu was the commander, she never gave actual orders. She had to expect something to happen. She only had to expect something to happen. Every single one of the family council members around her would want to satisfy that expectation if given the chance. They didn't have to be proactive about satisfying it. They could be passive too. But when the chance arose, anyone who knew Oryu's intentions could potentially become the one to execute her orders. Therefore, Oryu would never know who actually executed her order, and none of the relatives knew it either. So how does she... If this is her line of thinking, and what she just did at the meeting, was basically say, like, oh, Keiichi needs to die next, how does she justify this? Does she continue thinking this when, Keiichi doesn't die? No one ever kills Keiichi in this chapter, right? Other than her at the end, right? So, like, well, no, not really. Keiichi's in the hospital room, right? I guess he lives. But, like, how does her line of thinking change as Keiichi continues to, like, not be murdered? You know what I mean? But they all knew things would conclude just as Oryu wanted. And they could assume it was one of their own who did it for her. This passive support system was thoroughly effective, and it spread all over the village. Its ties became even tighter after the dam conflict. Anyone could be the one to execute Oryu's orders. Therefore, everyone supported each other. If someone did something, then the others would try to satisfy Oryu's expectations in different ways. God, it makes so much sense. Her whole theory makes so much sense, and the only reason that I know, or at least I'm very confident that it's not the case, is all this knowledge I have from, like, literal other timelines that she has no chance of knowing anything about, right? Like, all the murders that we've seen that we know have nothing to do with the Sonozakis or Oryu in any way, right? The fact that we know Tomotaki and Takano almost certainly have nothing to do with the Sonozakis in any way, right? Like, the fact that we have some explanation, like, again, I guess we don't really have an explanation for the first, second, or third year murders, but again, it's like, there's something about them where I just feel like there's no reason to really think it is the Sonozakis at the very least, right? So, yeah. For example, they'd come up with false evidence or otherwise passively interfere with an investigation. Even if they didn't know exactly who they were protecting, they'd still work together to protect whoever it was. Yes, I had finally figured out how it all worked. Phrased in a more organized manner, it would go as follows. The system of killing 2 people who were unwanted by the village each year required 3 elements. The first element was a region of solidarity. It was created during the long and unique history of Hinamizawa. The villagers' bonds became even tighter during the dam conflict. That was one of the conditions for this place to have a curse. It was an element that was already in the region, not one that could be created. The next element was having the same moral standards. This was a very important element, as the curse wouldn't have happened without it. Also, this element was created by Oryu Sonozaki herself, and that was why she could claim that this system was established by her own will. Having the same moral standards meant that everyone everywhere acknowledges the same enemy. And it's Oryu, that is the part that Oryu was, like, taking control of in a way, by being on the side of, like, Oyoshiro-sama in a sense, you know? Even when everyone in the village joined together, it would be meaningless if they all didn't know exactly who the enemy was. During the dam conflict, Oryu Sonozaki made the identity of the enemy very clear to everyone. They couldn't just say that they were against the dam construction and that the government was their enemy. That wasn't clear enough. The government didn't really pinpoint who the enemy was, but Oryu made enemies out of the construction site itself, and therefore its manager. She chose targets that the villagers could see with their own eyes. They were clear and easy to understand. The villagers acknowledged that everyone at the dam construction site was their enemy, and that construction site manager was the enemy commander. Using the same method, she labeled one after another as an enemy of the village, practically cataloging the list of enemies to print into the villagers' minds. The problem with this, too, is, like, the decision with Rika's parents, right? I feel like that is such a crazy that would be such a crazy step for her to make. You know what I mean? Like, I post after their deaths, after it happening, I can understand them rationalizing it afterwards. But, like, her deciding that they're an enemy because of their attitude about the damn conflict 3 years ago, that's just so... doesn't make any sense to me, right? Earlier, I'd used the term infecting for this phenomena. Those infected by this idea were the people unconsciously giving the orders to commit murder. When the infection spread across the village, when all of Hinamizawa's residents acknowledged the same enemy, that's when Hinamizawa itself became a murderer. Hinamizawa itself. Or you combine these two elements, a solidary region, and having the same moral standards. Then selected the enemy and spread that notion throughout the village. The law would normally have punished both the one who committed the crime and the one who gave the order, but Oryu's system didn't require an order at all. Yeah. Oryu just had to become concerned about the enemy she had pre-selected. But that alone wouldn't cause the curse to take place. Oryu's concern was like a safety device, and even when the safety device was off, the curse wouldn't occur unless there was a finger to pull the trigger. The last necessary element was to set a date for execution. The Night of Otanagashi. The nights to venerate Oishiro-sama, the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. On that night, the curse of Oishiro-sama falls upon two enemies of the village, and they disappear. Everyone in the village acknowledged that as fact. In other words, if the same incident took place on any of the other 364 nights of the year, it would be nothing other than a murder case. But if it happened on the Night of Otanagashi, then it would transform into the curse of Oishiro-sama. I agree with her on this for the most part. The idea that villagers are allowed to kill their enemies on the Night of Otanagashi had infected them. The villagers were the cells of this huge creature called Hinamizawa, and each cell would be taught who the enemy was. I agree with this in the sense of, like, the only reason this justification, calling it the curse of Oishiro-sama, is used is because it happens on the Night of Otanagashi, right? Which I think, like, you can draw more conclusions from that, like the way I have, that she isn't doing, right? But the set date was basically a green light for whoever was in the best position to kill the enemy. That was the truth of the curse of Oishiro-sama. Therefore, the one who actually killed Sashi-kun isn't my enemy. The one who set up this murderous system, and the one who named Sashi-kun's family as the enemy is my enemy. Okay, I mean, like, I'm happy that she's now at the point where she thinks of the system, right, like the Sonozaki family and all of this, as the enemy, right, because it kind of is. I'm happy that she's at that point. I'm not happy that her answer for it will be murdering a bunch of people, and has already been killing a bunch of people. I don't think that is a good way to go about it, but, like, and I think she's wrong about everything that led her to the point that she's at. And I don't think that any of this actually had to do with Sashi's disappearance. And so she's wrong about everything. And I don't like anything that she's doing. But I still love her, and she could never do anything wrong. That's my position, to make it be very clear. To use a broader definition, Hinamizawa itself and the very system of Oishiro-sama's curse is my enemy. I already killed the hag, the one who designed the system. Kimiyoshi, the one whose job it was to infect the villagers with the system, was already in my hands. Oh, God. I just had to find out who else was involved and how much. It was like pulling a weed while being very careful not to break its roots. I announced that Keiichi Maibara was one of the people who snuck into the shrine storage. I was certain that fact had already spread throughout the underside of the village. In other words, Keiichi Maibara was an object of the curse of Oishiro-sama now. Takano-san and Tomitake-san were found dead, having been killed in gruesome ways. That was the curse of Oishiro-sama. In that case, they could demon away 2 more people as sacrifices to calm the anger of Oishiro-sama. The set date for the curse was already over. But just like what happened to Sachi-kun, demoning away was allowed a little extra time. Something would happen to Keiichi Maibara within a few days. I'd wait patiently, careful not to let my enemy simply take Keiichi Maibara, my bait. Keiichi had been yelling on the other end of the phone for some time. She just doesn't listen to his insane rambling. He kept yelling that he didn't want to go into the ritual storehouse to begin with. He claimed he was simply invited by Takano-san and me. Oh yeah, this is when he, like, fucking freaks out at her and screams and acts crazy, right? Yeah. He shouldn't be in danger because of that, he said. He was feeling a sense of crisis and tension. This was going to work. The livelier the bait, the easier it is to spot. God, and she was just fucking manipulating him. That is crazy. That is crazy. Man. Yeah. Man, okay. Shut up. I've heard enough of your pitiful tears. Man, not the attitude I imagined her having towards him yelling at that when I was reading chapter 2, huh? I hung up the phone. There's no point in talking to him when he got like that. Besides, I'd already achieved my goal, which was to make him realize the danger awaiting him. I took a deep breath and called the house of the village chief. Oh, God.
はい、君吉です。
園崎です。どうです？村長さんは見つかりましたか？
Right, because he's already
ああ、
missing. Yeah,
君
yeah,
吉
yeah.
か。
And she's gonna, like, take control of the
片っ
search
端
for
か
him,
ら電
right?
話を
Yeah.
かけてみたけど、ダメだよ。見つからないんだ。参ったな。どこで油を売ってるのかな。
こっちでも心当たりにいろいろと問い合わせましたけど、全然。
Sinzin.
バッチャにも相談したんですが、青年団を招集して探し回った方がいいだろうという
Right,
こ
yeah,
と
they
です。
call, like, every house. Keiichi gets the call from... Yeah, 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 yeah.
こんな時間にかい。それに別に行方不明になったと決まったわけでもないし。
綿流しの直後ですから、少し慎重に扱った方がいいとのことで、それでも見つからないなら、明朝警察に通報しましょう。見つかる見つからないは別にして、痛くない腹を探られない方がいいでしょうから。
お嬢さんがそう言ったのかい。
はい。直接声を聞かないと信用できないなら、電話先に出させますよ。
That's a threat, huh?
い
Yeah.
え、わかりました。青年団を集めて探しましょう。それで見つからなければ、翌朝に警察に通報します。
青年団の連絡もよろしくお願いしますね。私もバッチャの代行ということでそちらに参ります。
ありがとう。すぐにみんなを集めます。
ええ。では。
The youth group had gathered at the Furude Shrine. They were going to try to find the mayor. I also had to go, in the absence of the hag. Just to be mean, I stopped by the underground torture room to let the mayor know that I was heading to the Furude Shrine to search for him. Right. Just to be mean. Okay. Shion, girl. Shion. Shion. Like, how did we get to this? How did we, like, what a line, huh? Like... Man. Incidentally, according to the tab on the keychain, this underground torture room was actually called the Underground Storehouse for ritual implements. Like, what is, like, God, what is Mion thinking about this, right? Like, oh, Jesus. This was the man who was yelling that whoever trespasses on the ritual storehouse should be killed. There was an underground ritual storehouse. He was there now, atoning for what he had done. It's pretty ironic. Maybe I was the only one who felt that way, though. It's like she becomes so, like, inhuman, you know? She cuts herself off from these emotions so easily. And I guess it's like she's been trained to do that her whole life, right? Like, she's been trained to be, like, almost emotionless, because she's had to be in order to cope with, like, her position and her family and all of this, you know? So it makes sense that she's so easily to switch into this mode where she acts like this, right? God.
君吉のおじいちゃん、お具合はいかがですか？
Clink. Kimiyoshi didn't say a word, but he made a noise with the
今
chain.
ね、村中でおじいちゃんの姿が見えなくなったって大騒
Oh
ぎしてます
God.
よ。
Oh God.
おじいちゃんの家から相談が来たので、青年団を招集して捜索を行うことにしました。これから行ってくるところです。
Was this mean or what? Kimiyoshi could only make noise with the chain. He couldn't even express any emotion other than anguish.
鎖、少し長くしてあげましょうか。私の質問にちゃんと答えてくれるたびに、そうですね。あと3個も長くなれば、だいぶ楽になると思うんですけどね。
Kimiyoshi's hands were tied behind his back with a tight wire. He was wearing a leather collar with a chain, which was strapped tightly around his neck. The collar's chain was on a pulley attached to the ceiling, with the chain pulling him up toward it. Oh, great! The chain was very short and pulled very tight. Kimiyoshi had to stand on tiptoes to be able to breathe. He had been like that for almost an hour already. Fantastic. He was already exhausted. If I left him overnight, he'd probably end up hanging himself.
さっきは知らないと言われましたけど、もう一回尋ねます。北条聡君について知っていることを教えてください。ああ、ごめんな
He
さい。
probably can't speak.
喋りたくても喋れません？
Man.
じゃあ、
Ugh.
私とおしゃべりの間だけちょっと緩めましょう。
I turned the pulley just a little to loosen the chain that was pulling on Kimiyoshi's neck. Kimiyoshi's heels finally touched the ground, relieving the pressure on his muscles.
知らないんだよ、シオンちゃん。本当に知らないんだ。
サトシ君が生きてるのか死んでるのか、それすらも。
おじいちゃんは本当に何も知らないん
Yeah,
だよ。
it can't. I don't think it's. Does anyone know? Someone has to know. They're setting it up as like such a thing, you know?
ま、ひなみ沢のたたりのシステムは そういう部分で機密性を保持
Is
してい
that's
ま
like
す
the
から
idea would
ね。
be only the person who's responsible would know, right?
おじいちゃんが知らないというのもありえなくはないことです。なら聞き方を変えます。サトシ君がどうなってるのか、君吉家
Oh
当主の
god.
立場でご意見を
Yeah.
伺いたいです。サトシ君は死んでる？
Kimiyoshi didn't know what to say. If he said he didn't know, I'd tighten the chain and leave the room. That would be like a death sentence for him. But all I said was that I wanted him to speak as the head of the Kimiyoshi family. I didn't ask him to tell the truth. But he didn't know what to say to avoid souring my mood and to get me to loosen the chains around him. He was obviously trying to figure out how to make me extend the chain.
生きてるんじゃないかって噂を
He's just
聞いた
making
こ
he's
とが
just
ある
making this up, I'm sure, right? Like,
Ah.
I mean,
新幹線で東京
or
にっ
in
てやつ
that,
ですね。
I guess, right? Yeah.
警察が東京で姿を見たというようなのを聞いた覚えが
I wish he had told me that Sachi-kun had been witnessed getting on a bullet train heading to Tokyo at Nagoya Station. But the police didn't know that it had really happened, or what became of Sachi-kun after that. Therefore, this was simply a random assertion of Kimiyoshi's.
君吉家の当主様、
Not a very good answer,
呪われ
huh?
た一族北条家の人間をわざわざ失踪なんていう凝った消し方をしていて、わざわざ生かしておくのにどんな理由があるんです？ないんじゃないですか？それにその東京で警察が見たという情報ソースを教えてください。
Sadako is still alive too,
私
right?
は大石と一時期連絡を密にしていましたが、そんなのは聞いたことないです。おじいちゃん、私の機嫌を取ろうとしていい加減なことを言ったならかえって怒っちゃいますよ。
I reached for the pulley controlling the chains around Kimiyoshi, and that act alone sent him panicking as he feared them being tightened
ご
once more.
ごめんよ
Oh god.
別にシオンちゃんを怒らせようなんてつもりはないんだよ謝るよ
私、ご機嫌取りの話なら聞きたくないんで。君吉のおじいちゃんにサトシ君のことを調べる協力をお願いしてるだけなんです。
分かってるちゃんと真面目に考えるから
I took my hand off the pulley. Seeing that, Kimiyoshi began making loud groaning noises to try and show he was thinking
ズ
hard.
バリ、
He just doesn't. He has no idea.
生
He
きてい
literally
る
has
と
no
思い
idea.
ます
He
か？
literally has no idea. He has no idea
死
at
んでい
all.
ると思い
He
ま
has
す
no
か？
clue. He has no idea.
生きてると考えるのは
He's alive.
難しいんじゃないかと
Oh
思う
no. I think you shouldn't think he's alive.
ですよね。生かしておくことで伴う膨大なリスクを負う意味ないですもんね。
But she can't accept that. Can she accept it? What does it mean if she accepts
私だ
it?
って同感で
Right?
すし。
Yeah, yeah. I really didn't mean anything too deep by it. But what I said truly scared
警
Kimiyoshi.
察はおば殺しの犯人が
Oh
サトシ君
god.
で、
Oh
サトコ
god.
の誕生日プレゼントを買うために貯めてた貯金で逃亡したと、そう考えてました。この辺どう思います？
でもその犯人は確か麻薬中
God,
毒
it's like he doesn't even know
の
that
危ない
much, right?
や
He
つだ
doesn't
と
even know
聞
that
いた
much.
よ
It's like he literally doesn't know anything.
あれ、
God.
どう思います？私は私がこういうのも変だけど、サトシ君がおば殺しの犯人だ
It's
と
like, will
信じ
we
てるんですよ。
will we ever get an answer for like who it even was? Who if the Sonozaki set up this random drug addict person to like be the fall person for Sachi, take credit for it? Will we ever even know who it was who did that in the first place, right? Like, or was that just like a thing, like what Shion said, or you said she wishes something like that would happen, and then it happened, you know?
あいつは例えば
Yeah,
ばあさんあたりに
yeah, yeah.
買収されて仕立て上げられた身代わりじゃないかと思うんですけど。
それはおじいちゃんも思ってたよ突然ひょっこりと真犯人でしたなんて言われて腑に落ちなかった
やっぱり身代わり？
多分そうじゃないかと思うよ
何のためにだと思います？
警察はサトシ君が犯人だと思って捜査を
And of course,
進めてたんだよね
it would look bad if he was the suspect for it because of the connection to the
サトシ
Sonozaki's,
君を
right?
鬼隠しということで失踪させておきたいと思うなら警察の捜査がいつまでも続くのは面白くなかったんじゃないかな
What Kimiyoshi just said is very interesting. He's perfectly correct. If the police continue their investigation, it would complicate things for whoever demoned away Sachi-kun. Therefore, the Hag came up with a decoy in order to put an end to the
で
investigation.
もそんな犯人をでっち上げなんてそうそう簡単にできることじゃないですよ。
お嬢さん以外にはできないよ そんなことは。
Yeah.
ばあさんが裏の世界で相当の力を持ってるというのはそんなにもあったんですね。
Yeah, it's like who would be willing to do that? You know, I feel like it would have to be someone who's doing it like almost like a punishment in a way, you know?
シオンちゃんだっていろいろとダウン戦争の頃から噂は聞いてるだ
Like
ろ
the
うし、
kidnapping.
中には実際に直接聞いたものもあるんじゃないかい？
During the dam protests, I actually saw them issuing orders to my relatives, like destroy their heavy machinery, or can we set up a checkpoint to blockade their construction vehicles? They set free their comrades from the police by coming up with alibis, destroying or forging evidence. I had seen relatives do those things, as well as the hag calling in counselors to the house to protest. As a child, I was pretty impressed, but when I thought back, it was more than that. She was truly the mastermind who controlled the underside of the world.
シオンちゃんだって建設省の幹部の息子というか建設大臣の孫だな。あれの誘拐事件の話は知ってるだろう。
あれってやっぱ誘拐だったんですか？
Of course,
孫
of
が鬼隠し
course.
になって高津戸だか矢後内だかの山奥で見つかったって話は知ってたんですけどね。
あれはお嬢さんの指図によるものだよ。
Makes
ダム
sense.
工事の
Yes,
中止の
yes.
約束が取り付けられたんで孫を釈放したっていうのはおじいちゃんたち旧同盟の幹部ならみんな知ってる。
身近にいすぎて私がよく分かってなかっただけで、やっぱりばあさんとか御三家とか旧同盟って大したもんだったんですね。
I suppose.
怖い怖い。
Kimiyoshi finally realized the situation he was in, and he was answering my questions. That made me happy, but the more Kimiyoshi told me the truth, the more I realized Sachiko-kun really was dead. That made me very sad. I wonder if he is. It's like if he's not dead, where on earth would he be, right? If him running to Tokyo isn't true, right? Which it seems like it isn't, where would he be? Where would he be if he's not dead? I mean, like, he's not down here in the torture room, right? Like, where would he be?
サトシ君を鬼隠しにした実行犯は誰だと思います？
わからないよ。
The only thing I can think is just because this is just the dartboard I throw everything at, I guess. It's just like Takano, right? Like, would Takano have something to do with his disappearance just because Satoshi had the crazy shit that makes him go crazy going on? Takano knows something about that, assumedly, right? But like what? What would I think, right? Like, I have no idea, you know.
それに誰が実際にやったかは問わないのが不分律だったから。
He was right. That was how the system worked. And so, that was the bad
誰
question.
がやったにせよ、だって人を殺して死体も出てこないなんて
Could be in
結
the
構簡
swamp.
単なことじゃないんじゃないですか？
Could be in the
誰が
swamp.
殺したかは別にして例えば死体の処理をお嬢さんが手伝ったという可能性は考えられるよ。今いるここの奥に
Right,
死体
right,
を捨て
of
るため
course.
の井戸があることは知ってるだろ。
ああ、確かに。
But Satoshi, she's not down there, right? Because like Oishi like tells Keiichi about it, right? Oishi tells Keiichi about Mion's body down there. I guess he would have had to have said it if Satoshi's body was down there, but
どこかの山中に埋めるくらいなら、ここの井戸に捨てる方が絶対に安全ですもんね。
whoever disappears becomes a sacrifice to calm the anger of Eishiro-sama. That was the rule of this game. Therefore, the bodies must never be discovered. That's why the bodies had to be dumped somewhere and nobody could find them. It's very possible that the well was used for that. Then, Sachikun is at the bottom of that well. I grabbed a flashlight and headed to the huge cave with all the cells. As I turned on the lights in the cave, Mion noticed me and gave me a worried look. Oh, God. I ignored her and headed to the cell in the back. I was still very impressed by how the well was hidden. It was almost artistic. I shone the flashlight at the bottom of the well. Don't slip. I had no way of knowing how deep the well was. The light of the flashlight wasn't strong enough to reach the bottom. I inhaled, then screamed into the well.
サトシ君。
Sachiko-kun's name echoed again and again. It was obviously a very deep well. I thought of climbing down using the wedges on the wall, but with the flashlight hanging from my neck, I couldn't light my footing properly. And even if there was enough lighting, I didn't know if the wedges were sturdy enough. It would be like committing suicide. Sachi-kun was at the bottom of this well. That's when I felt it. A warm hand rubbed my head for sure. Rubbed her head. Shion. You finally found me. Sachi-kun. I've been looking for you for so long. I'm sorry I couldn't find you while you were still alive. I'm sorry. It's not your fault, Shion. There's nothing you could have done before I was killed. But you did everything you could do after I was dead. Sachi-kun, I want to join you. I'm coming right now. I'm going to jump, so please catch me. Oh, God. Sachi-kun smiled bitterly. I was saddened to see him reject me. Shion, I'm happy that you found me. But you are alive, Shion. It's so important to be alive. You can't waste it. If you aren't here, I don't want to live. I want to be with you, Sachi-kun. I want to be close to you. I want you to rub my head again. I want to spend time with you. I'll be a good girl. I want to be with you. Live. Do I have to? Live and enjoy your life, okay? It's just the sad thing is, it's like she said, it's like she's already dead, right? She's already kind of thrown away her life with the actions that she's done these past day, you know? What's so fun about living alone? You'll find out, as long as you're alive.
生きる
Ooh. To live.
生きるよ生きる
The eerie well now felt warm. I wasn't allowed to go down to the bottom, but the edge of this well was the place where you and I could meet. Man. If only. If only, right? If only.
ミオサトシ君見つけた井戸の底なんだねそうだとそこしかないもん
Maybe. He might be. I don't know. I don't think he is. Mion started to
ミオ
sob.
ンはサトシ君が殺されるところには居合わせなかったんだよねうんもし居合わせたらサトシ君を許してもらえるようばあさんに意見してくれたかな
I don't think she would have.
絶対にする
I don't think she could have.
せめて命だけはって
She's saying that,
絶対
but
に言うよ嘘だ
yeah, no.
嘘だ
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with her. I don't think Mion would have. Yeah. On that day, a year ago, I just recalled how cruel Mion was then, when she forced me to rip out my nails, acting in her role as the successor. It's not Mion's fault, though. Even if she was there when Sachi-kun was killed, she wouldn't have stopped being the successor. Sachi-kun was brought to the torture room. When he saw Mion, I'm sure he thought she would save him. Even as he heard the family head read out his death sentence, I'm sure he looked at Mion, and believed that she would save him. He believed Mion was acting that way only because she was with her relatives. She would have been. Frankly, I think she would be just as helpless to change it as anyone else. I really do think that. He believed she would help him if she didn't do anything. He was strapped to a restraining device, yet she still wouldn't do anything. But she didn't do anything, sorry. Mion was cruel. Mion? Isn't it about time to help me? Haha, I see. I get it. You're with the rest of the family members, so you can't even show a hint of compassion. That sucks.
助けろなんで助けないのサトシ君の助けを懇願する眼差しを見てどうして心を動かされなかったの
I mean, it's like, I just think she's blaming the wrong person, essentially. I don't think there's anything Mion could have done to change it. Right? I think it's bigger than her, you know? I don't think this situation actually happened. At this point, I don't believe Sachi actually was down in the torture room and that they threw him down the well. I don't think that could be it. But I think even if this was the case, even if Mion did nothing about it, God. There's nothing she actually could do. She's just as helpless here as Shion would be, I think, right? Like...
意地悪オーバーのせいで追い詰められていた時から何も救いを差し伸べなかったあんたは同情する素振りを見せるだけで助けなかった見殺したあんたがサトシ君を助けなかったから
But of course, Mion... But no. But Mion is gonna blame herself, though,
私は
right?
救おうと頑張ったよ彼の心の支えになろうと頑張った んたらがサトシ君のおば殺しをかばわなくても、私は彼のアリバイのために自らを投げ打って戦った。その結果が爪3枚なんて安いもんでしょ。でもね、それだけの努力じゃサトシ君を救うには届かなかった。どうしてか。だって私はシオンだったんだもん。
I was Shion. It's like if she was only Mion. If she was only Mion, then she could have done it, right? That's what she... Yeah, yeah.
シオンはひなみ沢から遠ざけられていて、何からも戸ざまで、
Like she's
何
gonna
も教えられなくて知れなくて。
hate herself as Shion even more, right? She thinks she should have been Mion.
でもあんたは違う。
That she was Mia, that she should have had the power, that she should have had the power to change it, to do something about it, right? But the reality is, I don't think she even could have. I don't think even as Mion that she could have changed it, right? I don't think she could have. I don't think she, right? Like, or at the very least, I just...
あんたはひなみ沢のうちにいて、すべての中心で全てを教えられて全てを知ることができた。私があんただったらきっとサトシ君を救えた。私なら救ってあげられた。あんたがミオンになったからだ。返してミオン。もともとミオンはあんただけのもんじゃない。私のものでもあったはず。
Yeah.
それにもともとミオンは私のじゃない。私があんたに貸してあげるようになっただけで、本当は私のだったじゃない。
Really?
返せ。私のミオンを返せ。お前がミオンの外見をしているだけでも無実が走る。お前じゃなく私がミオンだったら、だったら。
I kicked the bars. I kicked them again and again. What does she mean? What does she mean that she was Mion to begin with, though, right? Mion curled up fearfully in the back of the cell, as if she were trying to prevent the bars from crashing down onto her. I mean, this is like the worst thing ever for Mion, right? Like, this is like she does feel these things about herself already in a way, right? Like, she blames herself for being Mion and for having this power in any way, right? Like, so of course she's gonna like accept it essentially, right? She But I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it would be that simple for Mion to actually change anything and to do any of this. You know what I mean? Like... God, and that's the end. What does she mean? What does she mean by... It was her name to begin with. What does she mean by that, right? Like... What does she mean? What does she mean by that? Read the tip. God damn it. After that, I joined the youth group in search of Kimiyoshi. I went down the council's phone directory and called to see if he had visited, then had the group split according to the circular notice divisions and sent them to search the town. Everybody seemed to be assuming they wouldn't find him, but since I knew they definitively never would, it was just bothersome to me. Even after midnight, they were all still enthusiastically looking for him. I bore the sleepiness while yawning. Then I heard somebody whisper. Last year, we did the same thing when Sachi Hojo-kin went missing. The youth group was looking for someone who would never be found, just like last year. I was yawning because I knew this. Last year, there must have been some people who were yawning and grinning on the inside. Oh, God.
去年の捜索って何時に終わりましたっけ？
あ？北条のとこのサトシの時かい？あれは何時だったっけ？
Probably pretty early,
午
huh?
前の0時過ぎくらいには解散したような気がするな。
It was already 2 in the morning. Although they spent this much time searching for Kimiyoshi, they didn't do the same when Sachi-kun went missing. Yeah. After all, some people knew they wouldn't find him. They must have been sleepy. They must have said they should leave it to the police. Shit. Shit. I want to kill the people who said that. Oh, God. Okay, so what she just said to Mion about it being her name to begin with, I wonder... They said they switched places all the time as children. I wonder, like... Oh no, like, I guess I don't know. Like, when... Like... Okay, like, here's what I'm thinking, right? Like, they were identical twins. It would be so easy to get them mixed up, like, as children, as babies, right? I was thinking, like, would they have been switched up at some point as babies? And, like, or as very young children, and it just became, like a permanent thing, you know? That the one who was originally Mion from birth is Shion now? But I guess I don't know how that would happen. How would that happen in a way that they remember it? You know what I mean? Like, because that would have probably had to have happened really young, when they were really young, right? When they can't even speak, right? Like, Because if they were switched up any later, then, like, they would have been like, oh no, I'm Mion, not Shion, and that would have, like, cleared up the problem, right? But if it happened when they were both really young, right, like, when it would more realistically happen, like a switch-up like that, then how would Shion even know about it? You know what I mean? Because if she would have been so young, she wouldn't remember this switch-up of having happened, right? So, like, how... Obviously, the idea of Shion having been Mion to begin with, though, like, oh god, that makes everything even worse. That makes everything even worse, and it also just makes, like, it makes the whole ridiculous thing about, like, Mion having been born first, so her being Mion and all of this, just even more ridiculous and insane, right? It makes Shion's position in the family even more absurd and stupid, you know? I guess I just don't understand how it would have happened, though, right? Like, what would have been the... What would have been... How would this have come about? How would there have been a switch at any point, you know? Because, like, obviously, like, they wouldn't have wanted to do... Like, it would have to have been, like, a mistake, I assume, right? They wouldn't have wanted to do it themselves, you know? Like, Shion wouldn't have wanted to switch places with Mion if Mion was Shion and Shion was Mion, you know? Because of what that would mean, right? So... I mean, I guess there could be some kind of explanation like that. That's kind of the only thing that would make any sense to me in some way, right? Because it's like, if there was a switch up, and if they were old enough to know about it, it kind of has to be something like that, you know? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but this is 2 hours and 10 minutes long, so I just can't. Like, I gotta go to sleep. Like, man, I gotta wake up early, I gotta go eat dinner, man, I got stuff to do. So there was stuff I wanted to talk about, but I just can't. I just can't this time. So unlucky, I guess. Unlucky. Well, I guess that's it. So much stuff I have to think about. I always do my thinking in between episodes, so hopefully I'll have stuff to talk about next time, and I'll have it all figured out. Well, I guess that's it. Just what a traumatizing, awful, like, God. Man. Okay, yeah, that's it. So please, if you enjoy my videos, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and I will see you in the next one.